think they'll be on the air tomorrow. I think they will. Titans back on the practice field today. They will go at it with the Chicago Bears. Third joint practice in the last 3 weeks. It was a tough go against San Francisco 2 weeks ago. Last weekend seemed like the Titans really outplayed the Super Bowl champions here at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Today, another test against the Bears. We're going to look at the 53 because cut day is coming up quickly. Sunday, the Titans have to cut 37 players, get down to that 53-man roster. So we'll go through who we think is going to be on the team come Sunday. We'll do that coming up in just a bit. We'll also get into some college football today, Christian. I know you're one of our big college football aficionados. This is the last day we have a chance to talk about college football when you are truly in the preseason. Because tomorrow with TD, we're going to stick mostly to the Titans coming off the joint practice in the preseason game. So we're going to make our college football playoff predictions that are always completely wrong, but I feel like we have to do it with week 0 coming up in 2 days.
I believe my national championship game last year was Penn State and Clemson. So it wasn't completely wrong. They did play in the postseason.
They did. They did play in the postseason in New York under the bright lights of the Pinstripe Bowl.
Hey, they played at Yankee Stadium. It sounds like a pretty big game to me. I don't know. I was not the only one that had that last year in my defense. But, yeah, that just goes to show you how inaccurate preseason predictions are most of the time.
Yeah, I forget who I had. I actually might have it written down somewhere. I want to say I had Georgia in the national championship game. I can tell you for a fact I did not have Indiana. I did doubt Kurt Cignetti just a little bit. Okay, I do have my college football playoff predictions from last year. I had Ohio State over Oregon. I had an all Big Ten national championship. So
I'm trying to find mine right now as well. Yeah, I remember.
You know what? Never mind. This is my CFP predictions from once we had a bracket. I've got to find. There we go. Here are the ones from preseason. I had Georgia over LSU. So, I had one team that actually made the playoff.
Yeah, I think I had LSU winning the SEC last year. So, yeah, don't feel bad about that. Everybody was buying the LSU Kool-Aid last year, and it just did not work out, to say the least.
I'm looking to see how many of my teams I picked to make the playoff actually did. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I got half of the field last year. That's not horrible. We will do that coming up in the second hour of the show. I did want to get into some of the headlines from the last 24 hours in the NFL. No more Pro Bowl, Christian. I understand that the Pro Bowl had a lot of history to it when it was in Hawaii. People loved it. I thought the Pro Bowl was great for a long time. But it's changed, and I think it was time to do away with it. And the best part of getting rid of the Pro Bowl is that it actually matters again. No Pro Bowl means that being a Pro Bowler actually means something because there's no more eighth alternates where they're calling every quarterback in the AFC because no one wants to do it. And it's like, all right, Tyler Huntley, you threw 3 touchdown passes this year. Welcome to the Pro Bowl. I think that there was really no reason to have a game anymore. No one really cared about it. And now being a Pro Bowler can actually mean something on a player's resume anymore, when over the past 5+ years, it really hasn't meant anything.
I mean, Shedeur Sanders made the Pro Bowl last year. That's really all we have to say about this. I mean, what are we doing here? But yeah, it is kind of sad because, we grew up with Sean Taylor giving that dude a hit stick in the Pro Bowl, and Peyton. I always remember Jeff Saturday coming out to play for the AFC for one snap in his last Pro Bowl, so he could snap it to Peyton one last time.
Right, you switch teams.
Yeah, I always remember moments like that in Hawaii, but unfortunately, it's just kind of a thing of the past. I mean, it's kind of like just normal bowl games in college football. Honestly, now I don't think those are ever going to completely go away, but it is kind of what it reminds me of, to where it's just kind of become a thing of the past, and it's just kind of slowly dissolved, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, the Pro Bowl, out of the major all-star games, it meant the least already. And with every other sport, the all-star break is obviously built into the schedule, so it's not like you're going to get rid of it. It's a televised event that you make a lot of money on if you're the NBA. The MLB, it doesn't mean as much as it used to, again, where it used to be playing for home field advantage in the World Series. Obviously, they got rid of that, but it still means something. People tune in. The NHL All-Star Game, I think the Four Nations Face-Off was great, and I think that they found a good way to tweak that All-Star Game without completely turning it into what the Pro Bowl games became with the NFL. I think maybe you could see an all-star-esque format come back if they go to 20-week season, an 18-game, 20-week season. I think Joe Burrow was the one who suggested this a few weeks ago, of everybody gets their individual bye week, same as it is now if they go to 18 games. But then there's a bye week for everyone that kind of serves as the all-star break in the middle of the season. I don't know. They obviously couldn't do a full-on Pro Bowl and have these guys go somewhere and play a game, but they could do a Pro Bowl weekend where they go out. Maybe they do like a ceremony for them. You do a couple skills competitions or something like that. I wonder if that's the way they bring this back, but I am glad to see the Pro Bowl is gone as of right now.
Yeah, that midweek point can be the week they play dodgeball and tug of war and all that fun stuff they do now.
Exactly. If they want to do that, fine. Bring it back. Make it a mid-season thing where people aren't opting out of it necessarily. You're just really going to walk the red carpet. And then it's like, yeah, you can do tug of war and dodgeball with a couple of the players, make it a televised event. Boom. I think that's the only way it comes back. But I would lean towards it's probably not going to come back. And I think that's the right call. Other headline yesterday from the NFL that I thought was hilarious because I never thought this would happen again. They're bringing back the offseason Hard Knocks next year, and they're going to do it as a full division. And I thought after the Giants did it and Joe Shane just got pie in his face for what? It ran for like 6 weeks, for a 6-week span. I thought no team would ever agree to do this again because it's like you get the behind the scenes of these interactions, talking about roster moves, and Joe Shane saying, well, we're not paying Daniel Jones all that money to hand it off to Saquon Barkley. And then Saquon Barkley goes and runs for 2,000 yards and wins the Super Bowl. First off, I don't know how Joe Shane still has a job after that, and I've said that before. But I cannot believe that teams are going to agree to do this again. Maybe the NFL's just saying you don't have a choice, but it was fun to watch. It really was. I enjoyed watching it. But for the way the Giants came out looking after that offseason Hard Knocks aired, I can't believe that they're actually going to try and do this again.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even hear about this yesterday. I heard about the Pro Bowl. So I did not know that this is the first time I'm hearing about this. Yeah, I don't know how he still has a job even without all the Hard Knock stuff. I mean, it just completely.
Well, they've basically demoted him at this point with John Harbaugh having control of the roster.
Oh, I guess that's a good point by you. Yeah, I mean, man, and now neither one of those two guys are even there. They don't have not Jaden Daniels. They don't have Daniel Jones, and they don't have Saquon. I mean, you could argue they kind of got. I mean, Jackson Dart. We'll see. And Scatabo, I don't think is ever going to be a Saquon Barkley. I mean, he's going to be a solid running back, but they've obviously not upgraded at either of those two positions. Well, Dart, we'll see, but.
Well, and then there was also the other stuff of like them desperately trying to trade up for a quarterback and calling the Patriots over and over and over. And there was one more thing. Where his son told him, like, you should go get Jaden Daniels or something. And he was like, I don't know.
He's like, you only get this job once. You might as well try to win. That was the exact quote.
Right. And so apparently, I don't know if this is actually confirmed, but the 4 divisions that are up for Hard Knocks offseason are the AFC West, the NFC North, the NFC South, and the AFC South. So there is a 25% chance that the Titans could be featured on this coming up next offseason. I would guess it would be AFC West or NFC North. A lot more storylines there, but we will see. I was surprised to see that they're actually bringing this back. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I am live at Titans training camp. Joint practice with the Bears coming up in just about an hour, a little over an hour here from Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Our coverage of training camp is presented by Tennessee Brewworks, Perman Energy, the Music City Kickoff Game, Twin Peaks Restaurants, Perman Tractor and Equipment, Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery, and Tri-State Water, Power, and Air. Coming up next, Cut Down Day is 4 days away, 3 days away. we're getting close to seeing who the Titans' initial 53-man roster is going to be. We went through kind of a loose roster math last week on the show. I'm going to final 53. We're going to see where we end up of who makes this Titans roster and who ends up getting cut over the weekend. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you. I am live at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. We are just over an hour away from Titans and Bears in a joint practice ahead of their preseason matchup to end the preseason on Saturday evening at Nissan Stadium. Tomorrow, you can come hang out with us at T-Line in West Nashville as we celebrate 1025 The Game's 15th year of being on the air. Also, we have gifts that will be given away every hour starting at 6 a.m., including Preds tickets, Vandy tickets, concert tickets, and more. And if you stop by T-Line and get signed up, you have a chance to win Nashville Predators season tickets. For more information, visit thegamenashville.com/birthdays, and appreciate all of the sponsors who are making the game birthday celebration happen, who have been with us since the very beginning. Titans getting ready for the final weekend here of camp, final week of the preseason, and leading up to cut day on Sunday, we're seeing lots of the 53-man roster projections come out. We did a little bit of roster math last week, just how many spots were still up for grabs, and we came to the conclusion that it was like 7 or 8 that were still out there. I have cut it down and brought it to my 53. And I want to know what everyone out there thinks about where this might end up on the back end of this Titans roster. So let's start with quarterbacks. I think it's Ward and Trubisky. I don't see Will Levis making this team. I don't think it's completely impossible that they keep a third quarterback, but as of right now, based on what we've seen from Will Levis and Christian, I know you haven't been out here at practice, but watching the preseason games, does not seem like Will Levis has shown enough to make the 53 this year, and he will likely either be cut or, you hope traded, but I don't know if that's in the cards at this point.
Yeah, I was about to say, I just have kind of assumed they were going to keep a third. I mean, I assumed it was going to be Levis, but from what I have watched in preseason games, even it has not been anything to write home about. So I am not going to be surprised if they just outright released him. Obviously, like you said, you'd rather have a trade partner of some kind, but at the end of the day, to have a trade partner, somebody's going to have to want Will Levis, and no offense to him if he's listening, but I don't know if you're going to be able to find anybody who wants Will Levis.
Yeah, and I think there might be teams out there that are willing to claim him off waivers, right? If the Titans cut him and it's not going to cost you a draft pick, I think there would be teams out there that say, you know what, we'll give Will Levis a shot, but I don't think it's going to happen here. That's why I think, you cut Hooker, you cut Levis. I think there's a better chance than not that Hooker ends up on the practice squad, but Levis ends up being somewhere else. So 2 quarterbacks for the Titans. Running backs, I've changed my mind here. Pollard, Spears, Singleton are all locks. There's no chance any of them get cut. Pollard and Spears obviously are going to be the top 2 guys in that room. Singleton, you just spent a 5th-round draft pick on him. They're all going to make the team. I had thought it was going to be Khalil Mullings for a long time. You just drafted him last year. He does bring special teams ability with his past as a linebacker at Michigan. But based on the comments of Bones Fossil this week about Julius Chestnut, and really we've seen more from Julius Chestnut. He's been healthy. He's been productive in preseason games. I think it's going to be Chestnut. I think he ends up making the 53 because of, Robert Saleh told us outright that if you want to make the back end of this roster, you better live in Bones Fossil's office and you better be productive on special teams. When Bones Fossil tells you he might be the highest graded special teamer he's ever had and he does everything, I find it hard to believe that they're just going to cut him. So I think it's going to be Chestnut at the back end of that running back room.
Yeah, I'd like Mullings and Chestnut both. I wish you could keep both of them, but you got to make some tough decisions here. And like you said, I feel like Chestnut has shown more this preseason. Yeah, both those games, I thought he really popped and was one of the more positives for the Titans. So I think he's earned a roster spot, barring anything unforeseen in the next few days. And when is final cut down day? Sunday. Yeah, so yep. Barring anything unforeseen, I don't think he's going to play himself out of a roster spot before then.
Yeah, it does happen so quickly. Like, if I'm not mistaken, obviously they used to have the staggered cut down days in the past where they would get down to 80 or 75 or whatever, and then you'd stagger it down to 53 instead of just cutting 37 guys all in one morning, basically. But it also used to be a little bit more drawn out because you'd play the preseason game Thursday, and then I think you'd have until the weekend to make those decisions. Now they're going to play on Sunday evening. And I want to know, when is the actual time for the NFL? Because so it is 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. So they're going to have less than 24 hours after that preseason game with the Bears to make these decisions. Obviously, things can change. Maybe you have injuries, but as of right now, and Mullings may not end up getting cut. I think you might be able to put him on IR depending on how bad the injury is that he's been dealing with. That way you don't risk losing him. But I do think it's going to be Chestnut who makes the active roster. Wide receivers, this one was the easiest position for me looking through the roster. Like that, I said it was going to be these 6 guys at the beginning of camp. Nothing has changed my mind. KJ Osborne, I think, is borderline on the roster, but Tate, Robinson, Ridley, DK, Iman, or Oliver. I've got no questions there. Those 6 guys are making the team, and I don't think they're going to keep more than 6.
Yeah, I agree. Easiest position group on the entire team to figure out who's going to be making this roster. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry there. I mean, they've used those draft picks for a reason. They're not going to cut anybody that we're not expecting. And aside from those guys and Ridley, of course, I do think Oliver's the best option there. So pretty easy there.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the top 5 guys are all working in with the ones, so it's pretty obvious that it's like, all right, those 5 guys are all going to be on the team. And Bryce Oliver is a good special teamer. He's flashed on offense, and he's younger. That was the conversation me and Corey Curtis had yesterday of when you look at Oliver versus Osborne, you kind of know what KJ Osborne is, and maybe Bryce Oliver doesn't have all that much growth left to see as a wide receiver, but I do think that he is going to I think that he has a little bit more runway to grow than KJ Osborne does. All right, tight ends. This one was difficult for me. I think the top 3 are all locks: Helm, Bellinger, and David Martin Robinson. I debated whether to keep Kylan Granson. I think I want to say when I was doing this yesterday, he was the 53rd guy that I put in. That I went through the roster and I was like, I'm at 52. I got to pick one more guy. I think Kylan Granson makes the team just barely. But again, I think he's the 53rd guy and they keep 4 tight ends. But I really could see it going either way. It really just depends on where Brian Dable, Robert Saleh, Mike Borgonzi believe they need the most depth. This would have been Jaron Canick's roster spot, and he would have made the team. Granson, I'm really on the fence with him, but I ended up going with, yes, he does make the team.
Okay, so this is interesting. It sounds like you went through and picked guys you thought would make the team before you started cutting guys. I think I would have just cut guys by position, and then, I mean, it just depends on how you want to do it, I guess. I mean, you get to the same. It's like a math problem that there's multiple ways to do it. You can get the same answer either way. It just depends on how you want to work it out, I guess.
That is true. Yeah, you could have just cut off, all right, these guys are obviously not making the roster, and then go through. I did it this way because I went and put the 45 locks in last week, so it was easier for me to just add on to those rather than work backwards from 90 down to 53. But I've got Granson in as of right now. Offensive line, this is where I've said this over the last few weeks. They're going to keep guys who maybe you wouldn't think they would, but I don't think that means that they're on the team long term. Like that, starters are all going to make it, of course. Moore, Skoronski, Schlotman, Carmona, Latham. Coogan's on the team. Slater's on the team. Brandon Crenshaw, Dixon's on the team. That's 8. I have them keeping Andre James. I was debating between James and Volson. I just think James has been getting more opportunities lately since Volson was kind of knocked off that first team right guard spot. And then I have them keeping Austin Deculus. It would not shock me if both James and Deculus are not on the team by this time next week, even if they make the initial 53, because with waivers and the ability to look at other players who are cut by the other 31 teams around the league, I think you're going to be able to find better depth offensive linemen than Andre James and Austin Deculus. But I think as a safety net, they do keep those guys on the roster on Sunday. So I'm going with James and Deculus making the team, although I don't think that they're going to be very long for Nashville, even if they do make the 53.
Yeah, see, that's interesting. I just kind of had in my mind that Volson would be the guy there, but I mean, y'all have been at practice more than I have, which is 0. So it sounds like if Volson is not getting the reps that those guys are, then that will be the obvious choice there.
Yeah, Volson, I went back and forth on James and Volson. It could be either of them. It just seems like Volson is fallen completely out of favor since they decided to go with Carmona. It's like, all right, well, now that Carmona is going to be the right guard, I think that or at least that's what it looks like. I think you're leaning into that youth movement with Jackson Slater and Pat Coogan and Fernando Carmona, and Volson maybe just doesn't make sense. But I could see him making the team. Matthew in Nashville asked the question, what's the Titans plan at QB3? Mitch is clearly the backup because they're getting rid of Levis and Hooker, even though I would keep the latter, whose personal feelings aside has played better than Will in the preseason. Hendon Hooker's played like 2 drives in the preseason. I don't know if you can necessarily say that. Like, there's a reason Hendon Hooker's not getting any team snaps in practice. He is the 4th string quarterback. But as I said earlier, I think if you ask me who is more likely to end up on the Titans practice squad as the, I guess, de facto QB3 who they could call up if necessary, I would probably say it's more likely it's Hendon Hooker, because you're going to cut both of them, I think it's more likely that Levis gets claimed somewhere else rather than Hooker. But it could go either way. And it also could go that the Titans cut both of them and somebody else comes free that they think would be better to be that QB3, whether it's on the 53 or on the practice squad, and they go that direction. But I think if you had to ask me who's more likely to end up on the practice squad as the quarterback, Levis or Hooker, I'm going to say Hooker because I think other teams would let him clear waivers more than they would Will Levis.
I think Hooker, it just makes more sense as a practice squad quarterback as well, just because, I mean, Levis is not a guy that, I mean, you pretty much know what you have in Levis. Not that you don't in Hooker, but there's maybe a slight chance something can click for him. Levis, you kind of know what you got already, so it makes more sense to me to see Hooker as a practice squad guy than Levis. And as much as I love Hendon Hooker, it is pretty clear and obvious that he's the fourth quarterback on this team, and I'd love to see him be getting more reps, but these guys are professionals, and there's probably a reason he's not getting the reps that everybody else is getting.
And hey, he's working hard. Like I won't say anything bad about Hendon Hooker. I see him working after practice. Like he is doing everything he can. But when the actions speak louder than words, and when they're not rotating him in with the threes at all during practice, I think that kind of shows you where he stands. So that is our offense on the 53. I got 26 guys on offense, 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 6 receivers, 4 tight ends, and 10 offensive linemen. We'll do the defense coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. More Titans talk as we prepare for the joint practice with the Bears coming up in just about an hour here from Vanderbilt Health Football Center. We'll have updates for you throughout the day. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. First pitch is at 6:05, and you can catch all the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure and Social Cantina. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you on this Thursday morning. Titans and Bears getting ready for a joint practice coming up in the next hour here from Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Again, open to the fans. We will give you updates as they come down throughout the rest of the show. But we are getting ready for cutdown day this weekend. It's going to move really quickly over the next few days. Joint practice today, final preseason game Saturday, and then have to get down to 53 on Sunday. We went through the offense. We have the Titans keeping 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 6 receivers, 4 tight ends, 10 offensive linemen. The back end of those have Julius Chestnut making the team, Bryce Oliver, Kylan Granson. And I said Andre James and Austin Deculus. I don't think they're on the team long term. I think they're going to be able to find upgrades cut from other teams, but I do think they keep 10 offensive linemen as of right now. Looking at the defense, let's start on the defensive front. I think they're going to keep a lot of defensive linemen with how Robert Saleh likes to use this front. I just think it makes a ton of sense to keep more guys there to rotate in and out. So 5 defensive tackles. This one was relatively easy to come up with too. Jeffrey Simmons, John Franklin Myers, Solomon Thomas, Jordan Elliott, and Nick Frazier's guy, Jackie Marshall. They spent a draft pick on him, early 6th round. I don't see them cutting him, even though he's had a very quiet camp. He's been in and out with he had an injury earlier in camp. Haven't noticed him much, but I do think they're going to give him the opportunity to grow over some of the other options there. Colin Saunders would be an option there. I'm blanking on another guy on the interior of the defensive line, but I think Marshall gets the nod just because of the investment they made in him, and they're going to give him some time. At the defensive end spot, this is going to be a little bit tougher with Jalen Harrell being out for the season. I think the top 4 are easy. Jermaine Johnson, Jacob Martin, Keldrick Falk, and Femi Oladejo. Obvious that those 4 are going to make the team. Maybe it's just because we had him on the show on Tuesday, but he had a really good game on Sunday night against the Seahawks. Give me Truman Jones as the final defensive end. I think there are some options there I've been big on Malik Herring possibly making the team off the edge, but I'm going to go with Truman Jones. He had a really nice game on Sunday against Seattle. He did flash a couple times last year once he was signed in October. I think that he is going to make the team as the final guy at the defensive end spot.
Yeah, I what do you think is more important for him, the good game against the Seahawks or his good interview with you on Tuesday? What will be the determining factor in him making the roster?
I mean, I think maybe the interview is what pushes him over the top, right? No, I mean, he's a Harvard guy. He's smart, and he made plays on Sunday night against Seattle, right? Like, Jalen Harrell, I think, was going to get the nod because he did have 5.5 sacks last year. Like, there was proof of concept with Jalen Harrell that he can be a productive NFL player. So I think he would have gotten the nod there at the back end of the defensive end room. But with him out, I think it's that leaves this wide open spot for somebody to go take it. And I feel like Truman Jones made a pretty big statement on Sunday night. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say Truman Jones makes the final spot on the defensive front. 10 defensive linemen for the Titans. 4 linebackers. I thought about going 5 here. I'm going to go with 4. Cody Barton, Cedric Gray, Anthony Hill, and James Williams all make the team. Dorian Mausey and Mo Diabate, I think, had an opportunity to make the team, and they still very well could, but I'm going to go with just 4 there for now. Given that they kept 4 tight ends, 4 running backs, I think they will handle some of the special teams aspects. I'm going to go with 4 linebackers.
I think that's completely fair. And another thing when you're thinking about this, I know there's not any for this position group, but any guys that I guess Anthony Hill, but he was like a 2nd, 3rd round pick. They're not going to cut him anyway. But any of these guys they spent draft picks on this year, I think are locks to make the roster. Because, like you said, you make that investment, you're not going to go away from it in just 1 year. And after, and not even a year, basically 3 months, 4 months pretty much. So any of those guys that were draft picks this year are locks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think when you spend a draft pick on somebody, obviously all those guys aren't going to make it through their whole rookie contract, but I think you draft them with the idea that you can develop them into capable NFL players, whether that's on offense or defense, which would be great, but even at the back end, just trying to get quality special teamers. And I think that's what Jaron Kanik was drafted to do. His injury obviously kind of takes him out of this equation, and he'll hopefully be back ready to go next year. But I agree with you that with Jackie Marshall at the back end and Pat Coogan and Nick Singleton, even if you might look at, I think running back is the perfect example. Michael Carter has probably had a better camp than Nick Singleton so far, at least based on what I've seen. But with Michael Carter versus Nick Singleton, I think you believe you can develop Singleton into something more, even if he's not going to be the same player that Carter is right now. Now, if it was for your starting running back and you're making that determination, then sure, yeah, you maybe change up the equation there. But for your third string running back, I think you go with the guy that you think you can develop over somebody who maybe is a more proven commodity right now. So 4 linebackers, 10 defensive linemen brings us to the secondary. Secondary on defense, for sure, this was the hardest one to figure out because you know who the top end guys are, even if they've struggled in the preseason. You know who's going to be starting. Taylor, Flott, Harris, Hooker, Winston. Easy. 5 there. The depth is a lot harder. And I think there are some guys that you know are going to make this team. Tony Adams is going to be your third safety, and he made a nice play on special teams back on Sunday on the kickoff. Josh Williams, they brought him in, signed him to a decent one. It was a 1 or 2 year deal this offseason. He's going to make the team. I think Michael Robinson's going to make the team. So that gives you 8. I think you need 2 more, and this will wrap up the roster. Of course, the specialists in there too, Morgan Cox, Tommy Townsend, and Joey Sly. So I went Kendall Brooks at safety. He's made a couple of plays this year. He's been around for the last 2 years. I don't feel confident on this one. I think it could be Jarek Reed. I'm blanking on the other guy's name who I think TD put him on the roster. Eric Hallett. Both those guys could be in the contention for the last safety spot. I'm going to go with Kendall Brooks. I am going to agree with TD here because when he says something like this that maybe no one else is saying, I feel like it comes from maybe kind of getting a feel that this is the way it's going.
He's probably saying it for a reason. Yeah.
Right. He put Mario Goodrich III on his 53-man roster, who was just signed within the last 2 weeks. And I got to say, when I read through the roster, I was like, who is he putting on the 53? But then I watched practice on Tuesday, and he had a pick 6, and he flashed a couple of times. If TD's saying something like that where no one else is saying it, I think it's for a good reason. So I'm going to say Mario Goodrich III is that final cornerback that the Titans keep over a guy like maybe Keedrain Callaghan, who we've talked about more throughout training camp.
And that puts us right at 53. Is that correct? I've not been counting this.
That is 53. As long as I did my math right, I believe that is 53. So it was tough. I wrote down kind of the first guys out that I really heavily considered. We just mentioned the secondary, Keedrain Callaghan, Jarek Reed, Dorian Mousey, and Diabate at linebacker, Saunders on the defensive line. On offense, I think Levis is somewhat borderline, even though I don't think they're going to keep him. Kalel Mullings, KJ Osborne. So it's competitive. There are a lot of good competitions at the back end of this roster, and there's still more data points to come before they have to make these decisions. Today against the Bears, and then, of course, on Saturday over at Nissan Stadium in the final preseason game. So we'll have to see how this all works out, but we'll check back in on Monday and see how many of the 53 I actually got right. I think 45 plus are probably locks, but because, again, it's not hard to decide pretty much the 2 deep on offense and defense of who's going to make the team. But those last few spots are always tough to gauge, and we'll have to see where Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh come down on Sunday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Coming up next to wrap up the hour, we're going to have Parker Kelly join us. He will talk us through what to expect today at the joint practice. He'll be out here covering it. Titans and Bears getting ready to take the field within the next hour here at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up. 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman live at Titans training camp. Christian Skelton with us. Quickly, before we go to the phone lines, Christian did alert me the Browns releasing former Tennessee wide receiver Cedric Tillman. So he is out there on the open market. We'll see where he ends up. I don't think it'll be here with the depth the Titans have at wide receiver, but interesting to see. Tillman, obviously a highly rated wide receiver coming out of Tennessee a few years ago. Let's go to our phone lines now, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and we are joined by our good friend Parker Kelly as Parker gets ready to come out here for joint practice. Titans and Bears coming up within the next hour. Parker, how's it going?
It's going good. I cannot believe that Cedric Tillman has been released by the Cleveland Browns. I did not expect to hear that this morning.
I know they have a lot of depth in that wide receiver room. Obviously, they spent 2 picks there early with Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston. So I guess somebody had to be the odd man out. But I agree. I was pretty surprised to see that today.
Yeah, I thought he was always a good wide receiver 3. But when you bring in 2 of those guys from the draft in the first and second round, I guess it somewhat makes sense. But still surprised that he didn't at least fit into that wide receiver room in a wide receiver 5-6 type role.
Did you hear my 53-man roster prediction on your way in here, Parker?
I did, and I do agree with most of it. The thing that I'm most intrigued about is actually what PK's been reporting this week about Julius Chestnut and Bryce Oliver and their value on special teams, because when you get down to the nuts and bolts of this, and you're talking about the back end guys, spots 48 through 53. I do think they're going to keep 4 running backs, but I always thought that 4th running back was going to be Khalil Mullings because, Jake, we've talked about him being a former linebacker, his ability to tackle on special teams. There's a lot of value there, but Julius Chestnut just keeps making plays, and he's stuck around, and it's hard to tell a guy like that no.
Right. I think we were on the same page that we thought it was going to be Mullings, but with Mullings being injured and Julius Chestnut getting his opportunities, taking advantage of them, I think it's going to be Chestnut, especially after the comments from Bones Fossil back on Tuesday. All right, we got Bears and Titans coming up here over at the practice facility. 3rd joint practice for the Titans. Parker, you were out here last Friday where the Titans and Seahawks faced off. What do you think the Titans need to do to build off of the success they had there, but also the disappointment of the game on Sunday to try and take some momentum into this final weekend of the preseason?
Well, the Titans were great defensively against the Seattle Seahawks in the joint practice. Not in the preseason game, but in joint practice.
Yeah.
I was kind of in between both fields watching offense and defense, so it was hard to watch every play for both sides. But when I was looking over at the defense, they didn't give up a lot. They gave up a few chunk runs here and there, but they didn't allow the offense into the end zone, at least during the red zone portion. So I thought that was pretty promising. I tend to believe that this is going to be the best offense that the Titans are going to see, at least in the preseason. And I know the Bears are really banged up right now, but Ben Johnson is a mastermind when it comes to scheming on offense. So I think this will be a great test for the Titans on defense. Will they be able to replicate what they did last Friday? That is yet to be determined, but I'm actually going to be paying more close attention to the Titans defense than I will be the offense. I'll be paying attention to both, but I want to see how that defense holds up against the Bears offense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we talked about it with Corey yesterday of Colston Loveland against these safeties. We just saw the Titans secondary lose a much less talented, and nothing against Elijah Arroyo. He's a good player, but he's not Colston Loveland. I do think that is something to watch today. Can the Titans for lack of a better word, tighten up their secondary and avoid some of those big X plays that we've seen throughout the preseason?
And Luther Burden, I don't know if he's going to be practicing at all. If he's banged up, he might be limited. But they still have other guys. We'll see a lot of Khalif Raymond today, former Titan. I think he's running with the ones right now for him, and then obviously Roma Dunze. And you're getting what ESPN thought was a fringe top 10 quarterback in Caleb Williams. So that secondary is really going to be put to the test more than anything. But the Bears also have a sneaky good offensive line, and they just extended Darnell Wright, making him the highest paid right tackle in the NFL. But I really like the interior of their offensive line as well, and the run game's going to be good with Swift. Who knows what Kyle Monunga, if he's going to be practicing, if he's going to be limited, it's kind of a similar situation to Luther Burden. But it's just going to be overall a really good test for the front seven, but especially the secondary.
Flipping over to the other side of the ball, obviously the discourse around Cam Ward has been pretty fiery over the last few weeks with two disappointing preseason performances, although I think Sunday was much better than what we saw in San Francisco. I really don't know how much it matters what like the overall dialogue is around Cam Ward because again, what he does in the regular season is going to matter more, but it does feel like this is an important weekend for Cam Ward to kind of calm the tempers down a little bit if he can have a good joint practice and a good preseason game against Chicago.
And it'll be a lot easier, I think, than what he faced against Seattle and even San Francisco. The Bears do not have the best pass rush, and they didn't really do much to address that in the offseason. So the offensive line, I expect them to at least hold their own like they did against Seattle. And, with getting the ball out quick, that always, if there are deficiencies on the offensive line, that kind of masquerades that if you're getting the ball out quick and they don't have to protect as long. And also, too, the secondary for the Bears is just it's really banged up right now. But you're having a good test in the back end with their safeties and Dylan Thieneman, who was a first-round pick out of Oregon. I'm excited to see him. But Cam Ward, this should be a little bit of an easier test for him to hopefully build his confidence after the way the last 2 weeks has gone.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that on paper, this defense not quite as intimidating as what you saw last week with Seattle. I do think that with Carnell Tate going through a little bit of a lull here in camp, this is a good opportunity for him to maybe re-announce himself. I know that he's going to see some Jalen Johnson today, who is a premier cornerback, but he should get some opportunities against some of the back end of this Chicago secondary with the injuries that they've had at cornerback so far in training camp.
And losing Kobe Bryant for the Bears, I mean, that's just a major blow. Bringing him in from Seattle, he was one of the prized possessions that they brought in over this offseason. And for right now, he's slated to miss all of the regular season with hopes that he can maybe make it back if the Bears are able to make the playoffs once again like they were last year. But this front seven they don't get to the quarterback as much as Seattle and San Francisco did. What the Bears thrived off of last year was taking the ball away, but that was due to really good play in the secondary. So if the secondary's banged up and they didn't do much to address that front seven, I'm confident that Cam Ward can at least look good enough like he did in that joint practice against Seattle last Friday.
All right, last one for you, Parker. I know you're excited. What are you hoping to see from Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams today in the joint practice, live up close in person?
I know we're not supposed to be fans out there. Technically, if we're covering a practice, if we're reporting, it was hard to sleep last night for me, I got to admit, just because I was so excited. Jake, I just love offensive football, and I love what Ben Johnson was able to do in Detroit. I love what he was able to do last year in Chicago. I just want to see the Caleb magic. It's a really simple answer, but I just want to see Ben Johnson dial up a couple of deep balls for Caleb Williams, and let's see what that looks like, even with maybe a limited Luther Burden. I'm just really excited to see the different schemes, and it's probably going to be really watered down because it's still the preseason, but still, Ben Johnson's one of the best when it comes to developing offensive plays.
Parker, appreciate you taking a few minutes with us here. Enjoy practice today, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jake.
Parker Kelly joining us ahead of the joint practice today. Titans and Bears coming up in about 30 minutes. They'll be out on the field getting ready. And again, we'll have updates for you throughout the morning as they go at it ahead of Saturday's preseason game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. Hour number 2 coming up next, live from Titans training camp. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, the game, second hour on this Thursday. Jake Lyman live at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Titans and Bears joint practice. Just about 30 minutes away from getting started. We are excited, and again, we'll have updates throughout the morning for you. Christian Skelton is back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We're going to have lots of Titans talk once practice gets going, but it always sneaks up on me when it's like, oh, man, it's week 0. We are 48-ish hours, 49 hours away from real live football being played out in Dublin with TCU and UNC. And I realized last night, I was like, all right, well, Friday we're having TD on, and we're going to talk all Titans. So today is the last day possible to put in our official college football playoff predictions. It snuck up on me, so I did this last night. I came up with my 12 teams, filled out the bracket. We're going to see. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Christian, that I got 6 out of 12 teams right last year, which honestly, I mean, it's not horrible. I was wrong on my national champion, of course. I did not have Indiana in there. But we're going to see how close we can get this year. Do you have your bracket all good to go, Christian?
Oh, yeah, we're ready to go. I probably got around 6 last year as well. I think I got like 9 or 10 out of 12 and 24. I just had the wrong – and I actually picked Ohio State, but I did not do that well last year. So I'm looking to bounce back this year for sure.
Last year was definitely a different year. I think it caught a lot of people off guard. Texas was supposed to be so good. They missed the playoffs. Notre Dame was supposed to be great. They missed the playoffs. Penn State was supposed to be great. They missed the playoffs. Clemson. So I think, and who knows, maybe the same thing happens this year. But I do think that it seems like the top teams are a little easier to pick this year. We'll see how we do. All right, here are my 12 playoff teams. I've got Oregon as the number 1 overall seed and the Big Ten champs. I believe they go undefeated, including a win at Ohio State. I've got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish as the 2 seed. I think they go undefeated. I think they beat Miami this year with that game being in South Bend. BYU, we'll get to BYU a little bit later. I do think Notre Dame wins that game on the road in Provo. So I got the Fighting Irish undefeated as the 2 seed. Texas is your SEC champs. I have them as the 3 seed. Miami, the ACC champs, are your 4 seed. I don't need to go all 12. You can give me your 4. Who's getting your buys, Christian, in the college football playoff this year?
All right. Seems like we've got similar buys, but my 1 seed is Ohio State. I could have gone either way there. Completely fine with that. Got them win the Big Ten. Plus, they'll probably end up playing each other again anyway, so whatever. Number 2, I had Georgia, SEC champion. I think they will return to their dominance a little bit this year. So I got Georgia as the 2 seed. 3 seed, I did have Notre Dame. It's funny when you're going through this, the way I did this was I sorted out, I pretty much listed every team from every conference that I thought at least had a chance, and then kind of cut it down from there. And I almost forgot to write Notre Dame down since they're not in the conference. And I was like, oh yeah, they'll probably be pretty good. So yeah, I got Notre Dame as my 3 seed, and then my 4 seed I have Miami, because even if they lose only to Notre Dame, they're 11-1 ACC champ. I'm just going to assume they'll probably get one of those top 4 buys. I could be wrong there, but that's just what I had.
That's my thought too. Is I think Miami runs the table except for losing at Notre Dame and win the ACC championship. I think they get that 4th spot. So we're very similar actually, because you flipped the Big Ten, the SEC. My 5 and 6 seeds, Ohio State and Georgia. I have them losing in the Big Ten and SEC championship game, but still very highly seeded. I've got Ole Miss as the 7 seed. I think Trinidad Chambliss, Kawan Lacey, I think that's going to be a really good team this year, even post-Lane Kiffin. 8, I have Indiana. I know it's probably a little low. Like, I doubt Kurt Signetti too much. I stopped in the playoffs last year, and I picked them to win, but I don't know if they are quite on the same level as the teams in the top 6. So I've got Indiana as the 8 seed. I've got A&M as my 9 seed. And that is all of my SEC and Big Ten teams, which might surprise you because I have 2 Big 12 teams making it this year. I have BYU winning the Big 12 title game over Texas Tech, but Texas Tech was undefeated going in, and they get in as the last team in. And Boise State wins the Pac-12. They are my group of 5 champion. So that's my 12. Oregon, Notre Dame, Texas, Miami, Ohio State, Georgia, Ole Miss, Indiana, A&M, BYU, Texas Tech, and Boise State.
Okay, so we have extremely similar brackets here.
Really?
Extremely similar. Like, I think really the only difference is I don't have A&M in here. But
okay.
So my 5 and 6 seeds very similar to yours. I have the Big Ten runner-up for me, which is Oregon, and my SEC runner-up, Texas. So pretty similar there.
Yeah, so we just flip-flopped on the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah, pretty much. I had BYU as a 7 seed. I forgot they have to play Notre Dame. That probably was a mistake by me, but I still got them in the playoff. I think they win the Big 12 as well over Texas Tech. I also had Indiana as the 8, so we're seeing eye to eye there.
Okay.
I've got Ole Miss at 9, so we've both got them in the playoff, just at different kind of seed lines there. I actually have Alabama at 10, which I feel I feel terrible about that, but I have them going 10-2, and I'm assuming there's zero chance that a 10-2 Alabama is getting left out of this playoff. So I'm like, okay, I guess I have to put Alabama in, as much as I don't feel good about that. And then the 11 seed, the last at large, took me so long because I was like, Texas Tech, I guess, Louisville, SMU, definitely don't feel good about USC. It took me so long to figure this out. So eventually I was like, Texas Tech doesn't play anybody. Even if their only loss is to BYU, they're going to get in still. So I just went Texas Tech by default, and I kind of went Boise State by default as the G5 because, I mean, what do you know? I mean, that can literally be anybody. Like
I debated
again,
UNLV.
USF, who knows?
Yeah, I debated a few different teams for the group of 5, but I agree with you. I was just like, all right, I looked at Boise State's schedule. They play Oregon on the road week 1. They're not going to get punished if they lose that game, but they've got a chance to play close and possibly end up, even if you lose that game by 1 score in Eugene, that's actually going to be a win on your resume. And I think they can run the table in the newly formed Pac-12. So, I went with Boise State too. The one thing that became super, super clear going through this exercise, the SEC is going to eat itself alive this year. Because I was struggling trying to pick the last few at-large teams, just like you, I got to that cluster of SEC teams, A&M, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, LSU, Alabama, and it's just like I look through the schedule, I'm like, I see 4 losses there, I see 3 losses there at least, and I struggled to put any of those teams in. I went with A&M. I thought A&M's schedule was the most palatable. They do finish with Oklahoma and Texas. But like LSU, I do think LSU is going to be good, whether they have the pro players or not on their team. But you do look at that schedule and you say there are a lot of games that they could lose pretty easily in there. I think they're going to beat Clemson. Corey Curtis, don't text me. But Clemson is it's not Louisiana Tech in week 2, right? Like Clemson feasibly could win that game. I'm picking LSU, Corey. Then in weeks 3 and 4, at Ole Miss, A&M at home. Late in the season, you've got Alabama, Texas, and Tennessee in 3 straight weeks. Like LSU very easily could lose 3 or 4 of those games and end up on the outside looking in. And that was kind of where I ended up with a lot of those middle of the pack SEC teams is I think they might just lose 1 too many games and end up being outside the bubble when the bracket is revealed.
Yeah, you speak to that. That was the one thing I had done before, I made this playoff bracket is I'd already predicted the whole SEC.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So I knew I had Georgia 11-1 and then Texas, Ole Miss, and Bama all at 10-2. So I was like, all right, those are my 4 playoff teams. But then to that point of that it's just going to eat itself alive, I have A&M, Tennessee, LSU, and Oklahoma all at 9-3. So, I mean, and I don't know. Maybe one of those 9-3 teams gets in over Texas Tech. I don't know. We'll just have to see how it plays itself out. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because I think the SEC coaches especially are going to be thinking to themselves at the end of this year, why in the world did we go to 9 conference games?
Yeah,
we could have easily gotten more teams in than we did.
Right, because that's the way I was looking at it is I look at Texas Tech's schedule, and I'd be surprised if they lose a game. Now, I have them losing in the Big 12 championship, but let's say you've got a 12-1 Texas Tech against 9-3 LSU. The SEC can make all the arguments it wants about strength of schedule, but on the surface, if you look 12-1 versus 9-3, you're going to pick 12-1 if you're the committee. So I agree with you. I think they're going to regret the decision to go to 9 conference games. I did not go through and predict every game for this one. I will do that when we do our NFL predictions for the year because you do want it to be consistent of actually going through and looking at the schedules. I did pull up.
NFL is a lot easier to do than every single college game, too.
Right.
Brandon, our guy Brandon Bigsby did that the other day while he was here. He said it took him like 2 hours to predict every single college game this year. I was like, you're a madman.
I was sitting down last night and I pulled up that website that you can do it on, and I saw it said 0 of 905 games picked. I was like, yeah, that's not happening. I'm sorry. By pick 300, I probably would have gone delirious and just been clicking through as fast as I could. So I did not go through that, but just, top of mind, that's where I end up on the bracket. So we're very similar. I've got A&M in, you have Alabama in, but besides that, do we have 11 of the 12 teams?
I believe other than that, it's the exact same teams. It's just different seeds, right? Because Ohio State, you've got Ohio State. We've both got Georgia, Notre Dame, Miami, Oregon, Texas, BYU, Indiana, Ole Miss. You have Alabama, or I have Alabama, you have A&M, and then we both have Tech and Boise State. So, yeah,
there we go.
It's the exact
great
same.
Great minds think alike, I guess. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll go through our brackets and see who we both have as the national champions. I can promise you we're both going to be wrong based on how we've done previously in this exercise, but it's fun. Why not? We got 2 days until the college football season officially starts with week 0 on Saturday. We are getting close to joint practice time here between the Titans and the Bears. Again, we are live up here looking above the fields here, Vanderbilt Health Football Center. We will give you updates as soon as practice really gets going and we get into the team drills. But right now, the calm before the storm, and we will continue with some college football talk coming up next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up, 1025 The Game. Catch the Metro High School football game of the week every Friday at 7 p.m. on 102.5 The Game, brought to you by LPL Financial Nashville and Patrick Conger. Tomorrow night's game will feature Antioch against East Nashville. Before and after the game, Big Joe Dubin and Connor Nute will have complete high school football coverage with the Game Blitz powered by Southeast Financial Credit Union. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you on this Thursday morning. Again, Titans training camp, Bears and Titans joint practice about to get going. We're seeing some players start to file out onto the field again. We'll give you updates as we have them throughout the day. Final weekend of the preseason, Titans trying to take some momentum towards their opener on September 13th against the Jets. Jude in the YouTube chat mentioned we are Ryan Tannehill days away from real Titans football. It's almost here, 17 days until Titans and Jets to start off the final season in the current Nissan Stadium. All right, we're doing our college football playoff predictions because, again, week 0 has snuck up on me, and today's the last day that we can really do it. Want to get these in so we can either brag about them in 6 months or never talk about them again. So Christian and I actually have very similar brackets. We have 11 of the 12 as the same teams. The only difference, I have Texas A&M, Christian has Alabama. So in the first round, I went all chalk. I did. I struggled here. I wanted to pick an upset, but I figured with the games being on campus, Ohio State beats Boise State, Georgia beats Texas Tech, Ole Miss beats BYU, and Indiana beats Texas A&M. I went chalk. I just picked all of the favorites in the first round. But I feel good about it because I do think that there is I think the top 8 are a little bit above everybody else this year, and especially playing those games at home, I couldn't come up with an upset that felt like it made sense.
Yeah, and I mean, with those matchups, I do not disagree with you at all there. I mean, Boise State winning at Ohio State.
Yeah, at the Horseshoe, I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. And I know how it is to be a visitor at that place for a playoff game. It's not very fun. I was in attendance for that night. It was not fun. I mean, it kind of was fun. I was glad I got to go still. It was a cool scene, but still. Yeah. My first round, it turns out Boise at Oregon is a rematch. I didn't even know that till you said that earlier. So that's a rematch of the regular season. Oregon will win again. So that's the second year in a row we've had a rematch in the first round.
Right.
Because, well, I guess we had 2 last year because Tulane, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma, Alabama were both rematches.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I guess Alabama avenged that loss where they had, 4 turnovers against Oklahoma and Norman earlier that year?
In Tuscaloosa. In the regular season,
in Tuscaloosa. That's right.
Yeah, and then Norman in the playoff.
Right.
I mean, it turns out I don't really think it really mattered who won that game. Indiana was going to boat race them either way, but Texas Tech at Texas is fun. Texas is going to win that game by 1 million. It's a fun matchup because, old Big 12 game, Texas would win that game by 1 million. So my 10-7 here, just because the way the bracket worked out, is Alabama at BYU, which that would be a very interesting matchup. And this is the one upset I had here. I actually have Alabama winning at BYU, which, again, I feel terrible about this. I really do not think Alabama is this good. It's just the way that this has worked out in my predictions, unfortunately. And, yeah, I don't feel great about it, but it is what it is. And then finally, the 9-8, I think, would be an awesome game and probably an awesome atmosphere. Ole Miss going to Bloomington at Indiana. I do have Indiana getting the edge there. I think that'd be a great game. Probably goes right down to the wire, but I do have Indiana there. So I went mostly chalk. I mean, Alabama would honestly probably be favored against BYU. That would not surprise me at all. So I also went mostly chalk in the first round as well.
Yeah, I do think for the most part, those first-round matchups on campus sites, the home team's going to win a decent amount. The quarterfinals is where we've seen all the upsets, and I do have a couple. Actually, I only have one in my quarterfinals. So I'm going moderate chalk here throughout this bracket. The first one is the toughest one for me. Oregon and Indiana. Rematch of the semifinals last year where Oregon just got punched in the mouth early and really never recovered. I just think with Dan Lanning bringing back Dante Moore, and they've got maybe the most talented roster in the entire country, I hate picking against Curt Cignetti because it usually comes back to bite you. I think Oregon gets its revenge and wins this game and moves on to the semis for the second straight year.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think that would be an awesome thing to see, I think. I mean, anytime you get rematches like that, I think the storylines are even better, and especially if it was against Indiana. I mean, that was the one team last year that they could not beat. They pretty much looked unstoppable against everybody except the unstoppable team. So, I mean, I think that would be a cool story. I think Indiana is still going to be good. Obviously, I've got them in the playoff, but agree with you. I don't think they're going to be nearly as good as they were last year. So I would not have not surprised me at all. So should I go ahead and just get my first quarterfinal game?
Yeah, there you go. What's your 1-8? Who's winning?
Okay, so my 1-8 is 8 seed Indiana against 1 seed Ohio State, rematch of last year again in the Big Ten championship game. I think Ohio State gets it done this time, though. I don't see them losing to Indiana 2 years in a row. If we're being honest, it took a lot for Indiana to win that game the first time. I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win the game, but obviously Ohio State had their problems in that game, the missed field goal late, stuff like that. I think none of that happens this time. I think Ohio State wins in the quarterfinals this time.
Yeah, I feel gross kind of that we're both picking against Indiana after what Curt Cignetti has done the last 2 years, but I think that Oregon and Ohio State's rosters are going to be more talented this year. And Indiana's going to be better too. We've got a great transfer portal class coming in. Josh Hoover, who are we to say that Curt Cignetti can't fix the turnover issues he had at TCU? But I'm gonna go with Oregon.
In my opinion, I don't really think it says something about where Indiana football is right now that we think we're doubting them by both picking them to go to the quarterfinals.
I know that is true.
That really says something.
That is crazy to say, given where that program was 3 years ago. All right, my 5-4 matchup, we might end up with the same semifinal matchup. I'm going to say Ohio State beats Miami and also gets revenge for last year. I've got 2 revenge games from a year ago, and I'm going to say both the teams that lost last year end up pulling it out.
So my 5-4, it does look like we're going to end up with the same matchup because I have Oregon as the 5 seed beating the 4 seed Miami, and that'd be pretty sweet for the Ducks getting revenge on Cristobal after he, obviously he was going to leave to go to Miami. It made sense at the time, but obviously there's probably some bitter feelings there, and that would be cool to see. It'd be even cooler. I don't know. Is the Orange Bowl a quarterfinal or semifinal this year? I don't really know.
Let's see.
Like whenever I'm picturing this game in my head, I'm picturing it at Hard Rock. Like I don't know where it would be for sure, obviously, but I'm picturing that game at Hard Rock. But regardless, I think Oregon does get the job done against Miami. I think much like Indiana last year, I think Miami will be good again this year. I mean, even last year at times they weren't great. I thought they were kind of frauds all year, and then they went all the way to the national championship game. So what did I know about them? But I still think that would be another good season from Miami, getting the quarterfinals and just coming up short against what I think is going to be a really good Oregon team.
The Orange Bowl is a semifinal this year.
Okay, never mind. Forget that.
Yeah, the quarterfinals are the Fiesta Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Peach Bowl, and Rose Bowl.
So Indiana, Ohio State will be my Rose Bowl, is what it sounds like, and I guess that'd be Indiana, Oregon for you.
Yes. All right. So we've got the same semifinal on one side. Just flip the seeds. I've got 1 seed Oregon against 5 seed Ohio State. You've got 1 seed Ohio State versus 5 seed Oregon. On the other side of the bracket, I got Notre Dame over Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is going to be good this year. I think Chambliss might be the best quarterback in the SEC. But give me Notre Dame. I have a sneaking suspicion that we're spending all this time talking about Arch Manning and Dante Moore and Trinidad Chambliss as possible number 1 picks next year in the draft. I think there's a decent chance CJ Carr ends up being the number 1 pick next year with what they've got around him. He's coming back after a year in the system. I'm gonna say Notre Dame moves on to the semifinals and beats Ole Miss.
Yeah, Notre Dame should be a very fun team to watch this year. So this is the 2 seed matchup, correct, that we're doing?
Yeah, 2-7.
All right, so it's 10-2 for me since Alabama won, and I have Alabama, Georgia in this matchup. This is a matchup that I actually have Alabama winning in the regular season. And much like last year, I have Georgia winning the rematch. I think they get revenge for the regular season, and they take down Alabama in what's probably going to be the Sugar Bowl, I guess. Sugar Bowl's a semifinal game. You just said that, didn't you?
Yes.
But yeah, so Georgia does take down Alabama there, in my opinion, and we have maybe 3 of the 4 same semifinals. We'll see.
Yes, I have 3 seed Texas over Georgia is my final one. I had Texas beating Georgia in the SEC championship. I know it's tough to beat a team again a few weeks later, but I'm going to go with Texas beating Georgia and moving on. So my final 4 are Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame.
All right, so my final quarterfinal game is I have Notre Dame as the 3 seed. I have Texas versus Notre Dame in the quarterfinals. Now, a lot of people are going to pick that as their national championship game this year from what I've been reading, from what I've been watching. I've got Texas winning that game. I think Notre Dame is a very good team. And obviously, like you were just talking about, CJ Carr, all the weapons he's got around him, I think they're going to be really good. I think Texas finds a way to get it figured out late in the year. I think they're going to peak at the right time, and I think Texas beats Notre Dame. So my semifinals is Oregon, Ohio State on one side, and then Texas, Georgia on the other side. Big Ten on one side, SEC on the other side.
Love it, as it should be. Our good friend Max Hers has come and helped me. He swapped out my 1 seed Oregon for Vanderbilt, who he says is going to go 16-0 and win the national title game 55-3. So I'm glad it's fixed now. I must have typed Oregon by accident when I meant Vanderbilt. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will wrap this up coming up next and pick our national champions. We have our final four for both of our brackets. We'll let you know who we think is going to win the national title this year. And again, practice getting close to starting between the Titans and Bears. We'll talk plenty of Titans later on in the show as we give you updates on what's going on out here at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you. I am live at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Crowd starting to pour in for the joint practice today. Titans and Bears players taking the field. Excited to see what goes down today. Titans have been tested each of the last couple of weeks, out in San Francisco against the 49ers, last week here against the Seahawks. Final opportunity to gain some momentum heading towards the regular season today and Saturday against Chicago. Our coverage of training camp is presented by Tennessee Brewworks, Parman Energy, the Music City Kickoff Game, Twin Peaks Restaurants, Parman Tractor and Equipment, Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery, and Tri-State Water, Power, and Air. All right. We are wrapping up our college football playoff predictions for the year. Me and Christian have been almost in lockstep on everything. We had 11 of the 12 same teams. I want to say we had 7 of the 8 same quarterfinals. And we've got 3 of the 4 same semifinals. So I've got Oregon, Ohio State on one side, all Big Ten matchup, and Texas, Notre Dame on the other side. I am going to say the Ducks get it done. I mean, just Oregon crushing their demons, getting the monkey off their back in back-to-back games in this playoff. 2 years ago, it was Ohio State who ended their season when they were the 1 seed. Last year, it was Indiana who ended their season. This year, Oregon able to win both those games, and they move on to the national championship game for the first time since 2015 when Marcus Mariota was there. So I've got the Ducks moving on. You've got the same matchup, just opposite seeds. Who you got winning, Christian?
This is getting ridiculous because I also have Oregon winning this matchup because, of course, I do. Yeah, I for pretty much the exact same reasons you said. I really think, not to spoil my champion, but I really think this is the year for Oregon.
Me too. Are we both picking the Ducks to win it all?
It sounds like we just spoiled it.
I am sorry, Eugene. We have jinxed you completely.
I mean, I don't think we're going to be the only ones that do this, to be fair. I mean, with Dante Moore coming back, everything they've got coming back, really. I mean, they really do not have many pieces from last year that aren't back this year. It feels like they've been building for a few years now, obviously under Dan Lanning. It doesn't seem like, the last few coaches they've had, it seemed like they've always had their eyes on somewhere else. Dan Lanning does not seem like that at all. He seems like he wants to make a career in Eugene and stay there for a long time. I mean, he was kind of his name was in the hat. I mean, everybody's name was, but his name was in the hat for Alabama a few years ago. He immediately shut it down. I think Dan Lanning is there to stay in Eugene. And like I said, I think this is the year for them. I think this is the year they get it done. And even though I have Ohio State win the Big Ten, I still think that Oregon will learn from that, and they will find a way to beat Ohio State in the semifinals.
Well, I mean, you saw it 2 years ago. Oregon did beat they beat Penn State in the Big Ten championship, but then lose their first game against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. Not just lose, get crushed. I think there's still a lot of people on that staff, still some players around who remember the crushing loss in the Rose Bowl. I do think that they avenged that loss. All right, so we've spoiled it. We both got Oregon winning the national championship game. I have Texas beating Notre Dame and going to the national title, but losing to Oregon. Who do you have in your Texas-Georgia matchup?
I have Texas beating Georgia because, of course, I do. So we both have the exact same national championship. That's great. Well, and for me, for that one, as much as I don't trust Texas to beat Georgia, do they play in the regular season this year? I can't even remember. I don't think they do. Right?
I don't believe they do.
Right. So I've got Georgia win the SEC championship game. In 1 year, unless you're Indiana. We all know how hard that is. I think that it shows true in the semifinals, and the 2 runner-ups from the SEC and the Big Ten are who end up in the national championship game.
It's hilarious because you can tell we didn't plan this, because if we planned it, it would have been, we've got so many disagreements on who gets in, and
obvious that we planned it and just had completely different brackets.
Right. Yeah. So we could have, but instead we had 11 of the same 12 teams getting in, and we have the same national championship, which means there's 0 chance Oregon and Texas actually make it to the national title game this year.
Texas is going 7-5. Oregon's going 8-4.
I would say Dante Moore goes down, but they've still got Dylan Raiola backing him up. I mean, not that
that's
I think
true. Yeah, like Patrick Mahomes is his backup.
Right, exactly. With Dylan Raiola, he missed out on the opportunity to go do the funniest thing ever and just go play at Texas Tech this year.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that once the whole Sorsby thing didn't happen, even though there wasn't a spring transfer window, he didn't just try to force his way in there. I mean, nowadays you can sue for anything. We all know this. He could have just sued and been like, hey, this is an infringement on my rights to be Patrick Mahomes. Let me play.
I have a right to pretend to cosplay as Patrick Mahomes during my entire college career, and I can't do that unless I go to Texas Tech. Which Texas Tech, Tommy Castellanos is heading there. This one, we talked about it a little bit yesterday on the show. Of it's in that gray area of he did work out for an NFL team, for the Titans, actually. He was in their rookie minicamp, I believe, but as a tryout player. He never signed an NFL contract. And now he's returning to Texas Tech. He's got the injunction that gave him an extra year of eligibility. It looks like he's going to be the backup for Will Hammond, but this is the one that's tight because obviously it's clear that it's not the right thing to do when you see Daquan Wright wearing a Browns uniform, warming up on Saturday, and then becoming an LSU Tiger on Sunday. That's black and white. It's clear as day. With Castellanos, I don't really know how to feel because he technically has not signed a professional contract yet, but he did try and pursue it. He didn't withdraw from the draft. He went through the draft process. So I do think by the end of all of this, everybody is going to they're going to stay all of these injunctions. We just saw it yesterday with the one here in Tennessee that included Jalen Washington. He is now ineligible. I think eventually all of these end up being overturned, but that one is interesting because, again, he's technically not a pro player, but he did make a run at trying to become a pro player. He just wasn't quite good enough.
Yeah, it gives you very complicated feelings because, like the Daquan Wright one's pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious.
It's stupid. But did Castellanos make any money while he was in Nashville, or was it just a complete tryout? Like, do you make money for the tryout? I don't even know.
I don't know. Like, maybe they give you a stipend of some sort to come in here and like pay for your hotel room.
Well, hey,
there you go. Like Arian Carter.
Yeah, I would say if it's over $400, he better be suspended for at least a game. That's the precedent they've set.
So he tried out for the Titans and the Dolphins. Let's see. The CBS Sports article. The former Florida State quarterback remains eligible under the Big 12's new pro athlete rules after attending an NFL minicamp without signing a contract. So the Big 12 did release their new rules, very similar to what we saw from the Big 10 and the SEC. And I guess because he did not technically sign a pro contract, he is eligible.
Which I guess is kind of fair. I still don't like it, but it's better than the Daquan Wright stuff and a lot of these other scenarios where a guy has literally been in camp for multiple weeks or, has signed a contract, as we just said. It's still not great, but it's at least you can make a case for why it should be allowed, at least in my opinion.
No, I mean, just like some of the NBA ones are just ridiculous, where these guys have signed 3 different G League contracts and are still trying to come back. This one at least is in a gray area where you can say, all right, well, he technically wasn't a pro, but he would have been if he was good enough to be. I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. We can get into one other thing on the pro players returning to college coming up next, but wrapping up the conversation on our college football playoff predictions, me and Christian basically in lockstep. We've got the same national championship game, Oregon over Texas. So we'll see. Christian, we're either going to look. So yeah, Max is mad at me because he did change it to Vanderbilt. I apologize, but
Vanderbilt's getting revenge for the Texas game from last year.
Yes, yeah, the one that knocked him out of the playoffs. There we go. It's a revenge story. Vandy over Texas in the national championship game. But we have the same national championship game. We're either going to look like total geniuses, Christian, or we're going to be completely wrong. No in between.
Yeah. Oh, this is either going to be completely right, or like I said, Texas is going 7-5 and Oregon's going 8-4. Or they just both get absolutely riddled with injuries. We either just spoke this into existence, or we completely cursed them. I completely cursed Penn State and Clemson last year. We'll see what happens.
Like in late January, we may have to revisit this and say, look at us. We predicted the exact result of the national championship game, but more than likely, not going to happen. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will wrap up hour number 2 after this. And again, seeing more players filtering onto the field. We're getting close to the joint practice between the Titans and Bears starting up. We'll give you updates as they happen out here at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Finishing up the second hour on this Thursday, live from Titans training camp. Out here at Vanderbilt Health Football Center, Bears and Titans getting ready for the final joint practice of the preseason. Titans already with one out in Santa Clara, one last week here against Seattle. This one should be fun. Caleb Williams, Cam Ward, back-to-back number one overall picks. Won't be going at it. They'll be on separate fields, but getting to watch both of them do their thing today. Don't forget, San Jose State takes on USC this Saturday at 2 p.m. for our college football Game of the Week on 102.5 The Game, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. The Week 0 slate is actually pretty good this year. Like, compared to usual Week 0 slates where, like last year, you got Farmageddon with Iowa State, Kansas State, and Dublin, but really nothing else. This year, you've got Chapel Bill against TCU out in Dublin. You've got NC State, Virginia. You've got USC, San Jose State. Is it Stanford, Hawaii is one of the late night games?
One
UNLV.
of the better games of Week 0 last year in Hawaii.
Right. Is it UNLV Memphis is later on? Yeah, like
that game is at 9 on Fox.
We've got a full slate of good, maybe not good, decent college football for Week 0, which is more than you can ask for.
I would say it's good for Week 0. That
Right.
would be what I would say. And I didn't even realize USC was playing on Saturday until you just mentioned it. So, yeah, that'll be at least interesting. I mean, I'll probably be much more focused on NC State, Virginia while that game's going on. But it's at least something, you know, it's something, another game to flip over to while that game's on commercial. So that, if nothing else.
Right. I'm gonna be at a wedding on Saturday, so I will miss out on most of it. And I am, you know, I would have not done a fall wedding. I know this has been a controversial topic around the station over the last couple of weeks, as Adam Vingan was saying that college football fans need to stop with the no fall wedding stuff. I told my now wife that we were not going to do a fall wedding. I was like, I don't want it. My family and a lot of my friends are such big. I want them focused on the wedding, not on college sports. But a Week 0 wedding is perfectly fine. I'm totally good with that.
About to say,
I have no issues with it.
Yeah, I'm the same way with the fall weddings. That's Week 0. It's okay. You'll
Right.
be okay. If you're that much of a sicko, just check the score every now and then. It's
exactly.
NC State, Virginia. It'll be okay.
Yes. I mean, I think NC State, Virginia is actually at a good time because I think there's a little break between the ceremony and the reception, and that's like right when NC State, Virginia starts. So I can hate watch the Wahoos for a little bit there. But yes, I don't care. I'm all good with a Week 0 wedding. But like November 7th this year, which has like 6 marquee games between playoff contenders, that one, that's when you have the phone out underneath the table while you're having dinner watching these games.
I'll probably have the phone out at Neyland that day. I believe me and Connor Nute will be in Neyland watching the Kentucky-Tennessee game that day. I think that's November 7th.
You're right.
So
I always forget what the big games are that day, but there literally are 6 of them that are just elite.
LSU, I think that might be the same day as Ohio State, Oregon. Like it is a crazy slate. Ole Miss plays somebody good too, I think. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Ole Miss. You've got other good SEC games like Texas, Missouri, Texas A&M, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Florida, Alabama, LSU, BYU, Utah. You got the Holy War. You got Penn State, Washington. And Miami, Notre Dame, all in the same day. Just elite stuff.
I forgot about Miami, Notre Dame. Yeah, that will be a fun day, to say the least. Wow.
That is one of the great days in college football this year.
That is a sinful thing if you schedule a wedding on that day. That day is definitely not Week 0.
I do need to bring this up, too, while we're still talking college football, because we're going to spend the last full hour of the show on Titans as they start to get going here with practice. The news yesterday that ESPN is killing the bottom line ticker kind of devastated me a little bit. I get what they're saying of making it a cleaner-looking broadcast, and everybody's got their phones to check scores anyway, but you're just taking away our childhood. Like, I remember pre-cell phones, like, sitting on the couch when I was growing up in like 2007 or 2008, and you're watching a game and you see the score alert pop up on the bottom, and you're like, oh my goodness, what is it? And you're taking away our great traditions of college football. Getting rid of the bottom line ticker was a travesty yesterday. I really was sad to see that ESPN is removing it.
I see they say all those reasons. What I think the main reason is, if you're watching an ESPN game and you see, hey, Michigan and Ohio State is tied in the fourth quarter. Let me flip to that game. They don't want you to do that because it'll be on Fox, not their network. That's what I think it is. I think they just don't want you to flip over those other games, and they want you to have to work to see what the scores are. Because if you see it on the bottom line, you're like, oh, let me see the end of that. And then, oh, no, we've lost viewers. I think that's what it is. I guess
it makes sense. I mean, as somebody also who grew up as a Titans fan, but was outside of the Titans market, like pre-Red Zone, I just had to watch whatever game was on. And that was a lot of the way I found out what was going on. It would be like the CBS bottom line where it would tell you where they were on the field and what the score was. Like I'm a big advocate for the bottom line ticker during games. And I was a little sad.
Yeah. The NFL especially. I don't think you can ever get rid of it in the NFL just because, like you said, the NFL, 90 may be a little extreme. 75% of people cannot watch every NFL game, barring I'm taking Red Zone out of this equation. They cannot just flip over to every NFL game because most people aren't paying $7,000 for Sunday ticket. So the NFL, you can never get rid of it, in my opinion. That's what I mean. To that point, that's why NFL primetime used to be such appointment viewing for people, because how else were you going to see all the highlights from all the I still watch that show every Sunday night. It's still on ESPN Plus. He does it with Booger McFarland now. It's great. I still watch it every Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Berman is a national treasure, and so I am saddened today that the bottom line is going away. Maybe common sense will prevail, and they will rescind this decision. But I was a little bit disappointed by that.
We need a Cracker Barrel reaction to this, to where they just realize how negative the reception is, and they have no choice but to course correct.
Yes, 100%. I think this is something that maybe you put it out there to see what the reaction is going to be. And if people are mad enough, they'll take it away. I did see a lot of people saying, who cares? I care. I was disappointed with it.
A lot of people care. And I mean, the only time they've done this that I remember and I didn't mind was they do it during playoff games. Okay, fine. No other games are going on during playoff games, at least college games. Sometimes you'll have NFL games going on and stuff. But during playoff games, it makes more sense to keep it cleaner or whatever they said.
I agree with that. But if you're watching week 3 noon game on a Saturday, I like to have the ticker going across, because sometimes I'm not on my phone checking in on every score. And it's like I'll see something. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that James Madison was up 10 points on Louisville or whatever it is. Like that was the benefit of the bottom line. And I'm hoping that they go back on this. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We did get some reaction during our college football playoff projections. Michael on the text line asked, why are we sleeping on Oklahoma State? I gotta say, Michael, I like what Oklahoma State's doing. You finally moved on from Gundy. You've got Eric Morris in there. You bring in Drew Mestemaker. I think the Pokes are going to be way better this year. I do not think they're a playoff team. I think that's a little bit of a stretch.
I mean, I could see it. I could see the vision of how that can end up happening, but I can't just blindly put my faith into it before I watch them play a single game. I mean, I agree with you. I like what they've done this off. You just said it. What's their coach's name again?
Eric Morris.
Eric Morris. Yeah, I think he's a great coach, one of the better young coaches in the sport. But he's never coached a game there, and they've never played a game there with his players and him as the head coach. So I can't just blindly put my faith into it. You
can be fully impressed by what he did at North Texas, and yes, bringing Mestemaker in to be the quarterback, I think does raise their ceiling in year one. But their ceiling is not as high as being a college football playoff team. At least I don't think. The Big 12 is pretty wide open, especially with no Sorsby for Texas Tech. But I'm gonna sell on Oklahoma State being a playoff team this year.
Yeah, I was about to say that's the thing. The Big 12, that's the thing that's fun about it. You never know. You just never know, because that conference is as wide open as any conference can possibly be. I mean, I guess you could kind of, but I was going to say maybe the ACC, but that's like Miami and then everybody else. It's wide open. Like Miami's going to beat in the ACC championship game is what's wide open in the ACC, in my opinion. Although they've never even won the ACC, so we'll see if they finally do it this year.
Hey, I mean, I would take the Hokies losing to Miami in the ACC championship.
I could see that happening as well.
I mean, that's what it's what everybody said when Tech hired James Franklin was get ready to lose every big game you play in. I'm like, let's play in some big games again.
Sure.
Sure.
Didn't Justin Fuente make the conference championship game in year one?
In year one.
Yeah.
Year one with Gerard Evans.
Yes,
they lost to Clemson.
I remember how pissed off I was. I was like, wow, we really beat this team by 21 in Tennessee.
Yeah, the Battle of Bristol.
Tennessee didn't make the SEC championship game, but Virginia Tech made the ACC championship game.
That's what I'm saying. It's like if James Franklin can get Tech to an ACC championship game and lose, sweet. That hasn't happened in 10 years. I was wondering if Oklahoma State had Bedlam this year. They do not. They do play Oregon at home.
It's coming back in like a few years, though, right? I think I saw that. I don't know when exactly, but I think it is coming back in a few years for at least a little bit.
So here, I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna sound like I am just completely going against everything we've talked about for this hour, where both of us picked Oregon to win the national championship game. That week 2 matchup is a little bit of a trap game for Oregon at Oklahoma State. I'm not, again, just like I said with Clemson and LSU, I'm not picking Clemson to win. I'm not picking Oklahoma State to win. But it is a 9 a.m. Pacific time kick in Stillwater. I like that, again, not saying it's going to happen, but that definitely has a weird fourth quarter, it's close kind of game, and then Oregon pulls it out at the end. That's kind of how I'm feeling with that one. But looking at the schedule, I was like, man, an 11 a.m. Central kick, so 9 a.m. Pacific time, on the road at Stillwater. Boys in the student section are going to be tarps off. You got Mestamaker in there, an experienced quarterback. I think that might be a more fun game than it looks like on paper.
I would say I think that has a way better chance of happening than Clemson winning in Death Valley.
I'd agree. I'd probably,
Valley, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you, but I may be a little close. I think it's probably similar.
I don't think there's a good chance of either of them happening. Don't get me wrong,
yes,
but I think if I was to pick one to happen, I'd probably pick Oklahoma State just because, like for all the reasons you were just saying, 9 a.m. Pacific time for Oregon, that's not going to be easy for sure.
615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to text or call. We got one more hour left on the show, and we're getting into the Titans. All things Titans for the final 60 minutes as practice gets ready to start. Bears and Titans in a joint practice. We'll give you updates. Going to talk about some of the players we feel good about for the Titans heading into the season. On Tuesday, we did the 3 things you're most concerned about on this team, and it's probably a lot more than 3. But who are some players that you actually feel confident in heading towards the regular season? We'll do it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Thursday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman live at Titans-Bears joint practice here at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Players are on the field, individual work going on, and we will give you updates once team drills start, let you know how the Titans are performing in their final of 3 joint practices this season. Christian Skelton is back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Let's get back into the two-tone blue here. Titans, there's a lot of things to be concerned about, and we talked about them a lot on Tuesday. Asked, what are the things you're most concerned about? Cam Ward, of course, is one of those answers. The secondary, what they've done in the preseason games has been concerning. The offensive line, still a lot of question marks there. I want to know, let's get to a brighter side here. So many different things to be concerned about on this team coming off back-to-back 3-14 seasons. Who are some players that we actually feel good about heading into the year? That you're like, hey, no question, I feel like he is going to be a very productive player for us. The first name that comes to mind for me on the offensive side of the ball, because defense, Jeffrey Simmons, of course, has to be at the top of this. But starting on the offensive side, the first name that comes to mind for me, of course, is Peter Skoronski, right? Like, you just give him that extension, and it's like, hey, he is going to be solid on the left side of that line for you. You don't know exactly what Dan Moore is going to be. Center, right guard with Carmona is a rookie. J.C. Latham has had a solid camp, looks to be trending upwards, but you don't really know. Skoronski is the one guy that you look at on the offensive line and say, I don't have to worry about him.
Yeah, Skoronski's, one of the few guys on that offensive line, like you said, probably the one guy that you actually feel good about. And I guess shout out Rand Carthon, because the one hit he had as Titans GM as far as the draft picks goes. Yeah,
that's when you look at Rand's draft classes, there are still a couple of guys hanging around, right? Like
I guess Spears would have been a Rand pick.
Levis
right?
and Spears are still here. James Williams was a Rand Carthon pick. Of course, Latham the next year. So there's some guys who are hanging around, but obviously the hit rate not quite what you want it to be. When you look at the rest of the offense, I don't see a whole lot of guys that it's just like concrete. Chad, our engineer, just mouthed it to me, the guy I was going to talk about. When you look at the weapons, I don't know how great I feel about a lot of them, even if I feel better than I did a year ago, except for Wan'Dale Robinson. Out of everybody in camp who came in as a newcomer, I think he has been the most consistent. It's like every practice, you're going to get production out of him. He doesn't drop the ball. He's getting in and out of his routes quick. He's showing himself to Cam early to get the ball out fast. I think Wan'Dale Robinson is going to have a really good season this year. I don't know exactly what Carnell Tate's going to look like as a rookie. Who knows what Calvin Ridley's going to look like at this point in his career. The two young guys, DK and Iamaner, both are projects that are improving. But Wan'Dale Robinson, I feel solid that he is going to be a productive wide receiver for the Titans this season.
Yeah, I mean, the main things I've watched in this preseason have been the actual preseason game, since I haven't, been at practice, obviously. And we haven't seen a ton from Wan'Dale, but that doesn't, it's the preseason games. You're not always going to see a ton there. I am very excited for him. Connor always calls him always open. I think that's going to be 100% true. I'm imagining Wan'Dale's role this year kind of being like a tight end, where it's just a safety net for Cam of like, if all else fails, just dump it down to Wan'Dale. He'll make something happen with it. So I am very excited to see what he ends up doing with Cam this year.
And we've had the conversation about Cam Ward not being able to unlock the downfield passing game when they've been in these preseason games. Very small sample sizes, right? He's 6 drives, a little over 2 total quarters. But so far, no passes completed over 7 yards. That's going to take some time for them to figure it out. There's been good moments from Carnell Tate and Calvin Ridley and others down the field in practice, but in the games, it hasn't quite clicked. The short passing game, when Cam Ward has just taken what the defense has given him, that's when the Titans offense has been the most successful, and that starts with Wan'Dale Robinson. So out of all the weapons the Titans have, I feel the most confident that Wan'Dale Robinson is going to have a good year. And you can also include Tony Pollard in there. I will admit, I was on the train during the offseason of possibly trying to upgrade from Tony Pollard, right? We had a lot of Jeremiah Love discussion during the draft. But even before that, I thought there might be an opportunity to go out and get somebody a little bit better, a little bit younger in free agency. They elected to stick with Tony Pollard. And I will say he has looked explosive at times. He has been consistent. I think Tony Pollard, it wouldn't shock me if he's in for a 5th straight 1,000-yard season in his 3rd straight here with the Titans.
Yeah, I didn't want to jump it because I saw in the grid you had it here last, but I think that's my answer for this question on offense.
Really?
I think it's Tony Pollard. Yeah, I mean, just from what I've seen, and I'm trying to think of this as from what I've seen in the preseason going into the year, he's popped the most to me. I mean, I don't think he's going to have as good of a year as Tony Pollard, but even Spears has been pretty solid in the preseason, I thought. I mean, especially the San Francisco game, I thought he really popped off the screen. But yeah, I feel very good about Tony Pollard going into this year. He seems faster, if that was even possible to me. I don't know what it is, but he seems like he's done something that has upped his quickness to me. I don't know what happened, but yeah, his field vision looks improved as well. He looks improved to me. I don't know what happened, but he definitely looks improved to me, and I think. We've been talking about safety nets for Cam. You don't want to have to put it all on Cam. And I feel like a lot of times last year, Tony had a solid year last year, obviously, but I think he can make, maybe even a bigger jump this year from what I've seen so far this preseason.
Well, and last year, I think the offensive line had a lot to do with it. The coaching had a lot to do with it. But once Tony Pollard got going and started having 100-yard rushing games, like at the Browns game where he had the big, long touchdown and beyond, when he started playing better and being a bigger threat in the run game and in the receiving game, Cam Ward got better. The offense got better. Corey and I have gone through this so many times of the Titans pre-bye didn't score over 23 points at all or something like that. And then they did it 4 or 5 times post-bye. I want to make sure I get that right. So pre-bye, the most points that they had scored in a game was 22 against Arizona, and they were handed 14 of those points basically. But after the bye, scored 24 against Seattle, scored 29 against Cleveland, 24 against San Francisco, 26 against Kansas City, 26 against New Orleans. That all started with the run game starting to figure it out. They made it simpler on the offensive line. They made it simpler on Tony Pollard, and they started to see the results. So I think a good run game and Tony Pollard having another consistent year, I really do think that that's going to play a big role in Cam Ward improving and this offense improving as a whole.
That Arizona game just makes me laugh every time I think of it. It's the most accidental win of all time, in my opinion. That's what I called it. I was like, they won on accident. They didn't mean to win, but they fell into it.
The further we get away from that Arizona game, the crazier it is that game happened. I mean, that saved Brian Callahan's job for another week, right? He got fired a week later after they lost to Vegas, but it saved his job for another week. It did cost the Titans the number 1 overall pick because if they had lost that game, all things being equal, right? You can't evaluate in a vacuum. Maybe if they fire Callahan a week earlier, things go differently the rest of the way. But, with the Cardinals win, you lose that game, you have the number 1 overall pick. But it is just insane that happened. Everything that had to go right for them to win that game, just absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, the run game was a huge reason the Titans were able to win multiple games down the stretch. Cleveland, Kansas City, that's why they were able to stay in games against Seattle and New Orleans. We'll see if they're able to simplify it and Tony Pollard can have another year. But I agree with what you said on Tajay Spears, too. If he can stay healthy, Tajay Spears is a weapon. He can be a wild card for this team that they really didn't have last year. I know that he got healthy towards the end of the year, but he wasn't quite the same guy. We've seen some explosiveness from Tajay Spears throughout training camp, and I am excited to see if he can stay healthy, what he can bring to this Titans offense this season. Last thing on the offensive side of the ball, about things you feel good about heading towards week 1. I'm starting to drink the J.C. Latham juice here. Like, I really do think that J.C. Latham can have that jump that we saw from Peter Skoronski. It hasn't been perfect throughout training camp. It hasn't been perfect throughout the preseason, but we're seeing him just be more physical and using that reformed body that he's worked really hard to get in shape and to make sure that he's at his best physically. And I think you've seen the fruits of that over the last few weeks here in training camp. All the reports out of a bad practice in San Francisco a few weeks ago was that J.C. Latham maybe had his best practice as a Titan. He's looked good in the preseason games. I'm starting to believe that J.C. Latham can take that next step this year and become the guy the Titans hoped he would be when they drafted him.
Yeah, Latham and Spears kind of have similar places to me on this team, like in my brain, but I mean, it's for different issues. For Spears, it's just staying healthy, like we talked about, and I'm hoping that he's able to this year because nobody wants Tyjae Spears to succeed more than me. I mean, I think he's got all the talent in the world. It's just, staying healthy is a big issue, and if you can't stay healthy, then what's the point? With Latham, it's all on the field stuff, and it sounds like from everything I've heard, from everything I've seen, that he's completely improved, and I'm hoping that's the case. Because, I mean, if you can get Latham, playing well on that offensive line along with Skoronski, then, I mean, that would help Tyjae Spears. That would help Tony Pollard. That helps your entire offense, obviously. If you can pass block and you can run block, then, you're going to be able to move the ball down the field much more effectively than if Latham was not playing to the level that it sounds like he's playing at now.
Right. And I think J.C. Latham is such a key cog in the development of this offense. Of course, Cam Ward's improvement is paramount. That's the number one thing. But I've said it all offseason. I think Latham taking that next step is the next tier on that list of things the Titans can improve upon and feel good about, not just for this year, but for years to come. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, our phone and text line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai, online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Titans Bears out here on the field for the joint practice. Team drills have not started yet. Again, we'll give you updates as those come in once we start seeing the real practice begin. But I did want to continue this conversation, flip to the defensive side of the ball. Who are some players you feel good about, you're confident in heading towards the season? With so many concerns around this roster, there are a few guys that I think you can look at and say he's going to have a really good year. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up, 125 the game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton with you. We are live at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Team stretching going on right now. Joint practice with the Bears. We will give you updates when the team drills start, if they get going before we wrap up here at noon. With the joint practice timing a little different than what we usually have here. So, but we'll give you updates throughout the day. Keep it tuned right here. I'm sure updates coming up on Chasing Big Joe and DVD as well. And we will be joined by a player up here after practice. That'll be during Chasing Big Joe. So excited for that. We're talking about things to feel good about with the Titans. On Tuesday, we did what are you most concerned about? We're taking the lighter path today of who are some players that you are excited to see that you feel are going to have big years. We did the offensive side. I think the three players that we really focused in on, Peter Skoronski, Wan'Dale Robinson, Tony Pollard. I feel really good about those three. That's not to say that I don't think other guys are going to have good seasons. I just think I'm confident in those three guys. Defensive side, I think we can obviously say Jeffrey Simmons is going to have a pretty big year. Coming off an 11-sack season. And Christian, I know you haven't been out here at practice, and he's been very limited in the preseason games. There have been at least 3 practices this year where it's just like you see the red arm sleeves and the red undershirt in the backfield on every single play. He just wrecks things for the defense. So Jeffrey Simmons, I think he may have an even better year than he did last year, especially with the way Robert Saleh is going to use him. That dude is an absolute monster on the field.
I think some of my favorite things I've seen from this training camp is that mic'd up video. I think it was the Seahawks practice.
Yeah, with
that
Jeff.
Was so good. I loved every minute of that. I obviously I haven't been out there, but that pretty much showed me all I needed to see of what's been going on out there with Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah, I saw. I think it might have been one of the officials that was out there who came up to Jeff and goes like, "Man, you're bringing the game day energy today," and he was like, "You have to." He was all over the field. He's been all over the field. So I think it's no surprise. We're confident Big Jeff is going to have a big year. Other guys that I've really been impressed with in training camp, kind of in the similar vein of Wan'Dale Robinson, Jermaine Johnson. Like, Jermaine Johnson has been a playmaker in training camp so far. I think he's been as advertised of what you expected to see when they make that trade, a guy who fits this Robert Saleh system really well. And I do think if I had to pick who is going to lead the Titans edge rush group in sacks, we'll remove John Franklin Myers and Jeffrey Simmons. I always kind of thought it would be Jermaine Johnson. I'm more confident in that now. I think he ends up being a guy who gets 8+ sacks this season, which would be a career high.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that prediction. I think if you were, like you said, taking Simmons and Franklin Myers out of it, because those are probably going to be your 2 main sack producers on the defensive line. But I think other than that, I think I would not be surprised at all if Jermaine Johnson was your main sack guy there. I mean, from everything I've heard, he's had a great camp. So, yeah, would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a ton of JFM out there. He's been dealing with some injuries, so he's been in and out. So, outside of Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive lineman that has flashed the most, who has been in the backfield, has 1,000% been Jermaine Johnson. And so that trade made a lot of sense when they made it, of getting rid of Tavondre Sweat, who really wasn't, I don't think he was a culture fit. I don't think he was a scheme fit, and bringing in somebody who Robert Saleh was familiar with. And if there's one thing we know, Jermaine Johnson is hungry. It's a contract year. He's 2 years removed from the injury now. He's got an opportunity to go prove it and make a lot of money. I think Jermaine Johnson is going to have a really big year this year. And really big, again, doesn't mean double-digit sacks, although I don't think that's like completely out of the question. But I think he is going to be a really productive pass rusher for this team and help out the interior with JFM and Jeff Simmons. And then, of course, at the linebacker spot, Cedric Gray has been really good. He's been all over the field. He had a really nice preseason game on Sunday against Seattle. I think you could really say out of the first-team defense, he was the only bright spot that we saw. I mean, I haven't watched the All-22 and checked everybody's assignments on every play, but out of everybody that we saw in that first-team defense, I feel like Cedric Gray was the one guy that you noticed in a positive way the most.
Yeah, we talked about this question on offense of, who do you feel best about going into the season aside from your main guy? I think Cedric Gray would probably be my answer outside of Jeff Simmons, just because when I think about guys on that defense I actually trust, I think it's more of a trust thing for me than anything. Like
I get, yeah, it might be a good question of like, who on this team do you trust heading into the year?
Yeah, like when I think of that on defense, besides Jeffrey Simmons, I think my answer is Cedric Gray just because of the sample size. Maybe Amani Hooker, you could make an argument for him on the defensive side of the ball, but I think my answer would be Cedric Gray just because of the sample size we've seen from him over the past few years.
Right. I mean, Amani Hooker, if we asked this question a year ago, I think he definitely is in that conversation of who do you trust on this defense. Amani Hooker, coming off last year where he wasn't the playmaker that we'd seen. 2 years ago, he had 5 interceptions. He had none last year. And so you've seen some reasons to be concerned throughout preseason and training camp so far. So with Amani Hooker, I agree with you. I think he'd be borderline there, but I'm going to say no. I don't know if you can really trust anybody in the secondary right now based on what we saw against San Francisco and Seattle. Like, yes, is there reasons to believe that they're going to figure it out based on the track record we've seen from some of these guys? Like Alontae Taylor has been a productive NFL cornerback. Cordell Flott coming off a good season with the Giants. Amani Hooker obviously has done it for a few years here, one of the longest tenured Titans. But I don't know if you can feel confident in any of them based on the sample size that we've had over the last few weeks with the joint practices and training camp.
Yeah, I guess last year, if you asked this question, what was the guy's name from Auburn? Why can I not think of it? He got traded him in the middle of the season.
Roger McCreary. Yeah.
I don't know why I can't think of McCreary. He might have been the answer on this question too. So you just never know what's going to happen throughout the season. Yeah,
no, and you hope by the end of the season you're adding a lot of young guys to this trust list. Like we discussed, J.C. Latham there, Carnell Tate. I think the hope is that Cam Ward eventually ends up on this list, right? But we're a long way away from that. On the defensive side of the ball, you just spent $100 million in total money on Alontae Taylor and Cordell Flott. You hope early in the season you're starting to believe that you can trust them. But again, based on what you've seen, I don't think that you can say with any certainty that they're going to be good players. Weston Hermitage says Cordell Flott is, and he spells out terrible, like so bad. Why was there so much hype around that bum? I'm not ready to go that far yet. Yes, he had a really bad game in the preseason against San Francisco. I mean, you give up 6 catches on 6 targets. It was 71 yards. It was not good, but he was a highly coveted free agent this year. The Giants really wanted him back, and Brian Daboll clearly believed in him coming over here. I agree. Cordell Flott has been a pretty significant disappointment from what we've seen in training camp in the preseason so far, but I'm not going as far to say he is terrible. Let's see what he does when you actually start playing regular season football games. 4312 says Anthony Hill looks like a defensive rookie of the year player, and that's been one of the tough conversations this week to have because, yes, like you watch him on Sunday night and you say, that dude looks as advertised of what you thought you were getting when you took him out of Texas. Just great instincts and I don't know if he was trying to like bait Milroe into that throw when he picked him off, but he was kind of standing in the middle of the field, took one little shuffle to the left to make it look like he was going the opposite direction, and then came right back and jumped in front of the pass. Like he just has that instinctual ability to be around the football. And I love it from Anthony Hill. You just have to figure out whether he is going to be able to be the green dot guy, set up the defense, and take over for Cody Barton. Because that's the big thing is, can he be the guy to set up the entire defense as the Mike? I think he is a very good player, but you got to get the mental side of it down first, and that's a lot to ask for a 21-year-old rookie. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to the phone lines. Adam in Portland is called in. Thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hey, Jake, when was the last time you heard somebody say, hey, they had a great preseason, they're going to be great? Like,
there's examples of it, but yes.
Well, it's so dumb, dude. Like, and I don't like that Cam still fumbles. I think it's weird that he's so bad at that. But, as far as the concern level, dude, it's so stupid to see everybody get worked up over him. Like, no, we're not showing anything. We know our team's not going to be very good, but we're not showing anything. I think we're going to be significantly better than last year. I get it. Like Flott, I think it was weird Flott running up and celebrating after making an easy tackle and then getting beat. But you got to give these guys like an opportunity in a real setting to assess anything. Now, if we look like trash against the Jets, I'll be the very first person to be like, hey, we got problems, dude. Like, we might go 0-8. I seriously don't see any wins after that if you can't start to steamroll something there. So, but this weird obsession with the preseason and, oh my God, we look like trash. Like, that just does not scream football fan to me at all. It's just weird behavior.
No, I agree with you, Adam, that it's when you are in the preseason and you're in training camp, every little play and every moment feels like it's the biggest thing in the world. Like, right, the first training camp practice, every rep is magnified because it's the first thing you get to talk about with training camp. And the first preseason game, everything is magnified because it's the first real game action you get to see. But Adam's right. Of how many times do you look back in the middle of the season and it's like, man, he had such a great preseason and it is carried over completely. It's like no one talks about the preseason once you start playing real games. That's not to say it doesn't matter. Like it does matter, and you can take what the things and say, all right, you need to grow here, or man, the team looks good here. But you're right. We can't be making conclusions on players or teams before they actually start playing real games, because they play the games for a reason, right? The Titans, no matter what happens in the preseason and how bad you think they're going to be, they're going to play their 17 games in 18 weeks, and we're going to find out what they actually are once they start playing actual football games in 17 days. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. While we say that, though, we've got more practice to update you on throughout the rest of the day, because right now, that's what we got to talk about. Titans and Bears are on the field for joint practice. Team drill is going to get started shortly. We will give you updates on how the team is looking. I know that it contradicts my whole point there of like, it doesn't really matter that much, but we're going to stay tuned. We're going to tell you what's going on.
Stay tuned for the updates, though.
We're out here for a reason, right? 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman live at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Titans and Bears joint practice is underway, and it looks like we're getting closer to some team drills here. Final joint practice of the preseason for the Titans. Preseason game number 3, Saturday evening at Nissan Stadium. Our coverage of training camp is presented by Tennessee Brewworks, Parman Energy, the Music City Kickoff Game, Twin Peaks Restaurants, Parman Tractor and Equipment, Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery, and Tri-State Water, Power, and Air. Christian, you alerted me to some news. So the Titans' last playoff win came in January of 2020. The second touchdown scorer for the Titans in that game is on the field as we speak below us. Khalif Raymond, now a member of the Chicago Bears.
I didn't even realize that. Wow.
The player who scored the first touchdown of that game for the Tennessee Titans now has a new home. Jonnu Smith has signed with the Green Bay Packers. So how about that? Jonnu's been a journeyman since he left the Titans. Is this now what? 4 teams? Now the Packers was with the Patriots, the Falcons, the Steelers.
Yeah,
is that it?
It's his 5th different team in the last 5 years. The notification I got. So yep.
Wow. Yeah. So there you go. Jonnu Smith has a new home. He is going to be a Green Bay Packer.
That was impressive by you that you were able to just rattle off all 4 of those teams after the Titans that fast.
I knew he left for the Patriots, and then I knew that he played for Arthur Smith when he was with the Falcons. And then, of course, I remembered he was with the Steelers last year. So, that one wasn't too hard, but that would be a good where are they now for you guys on Weekend Huddle.
Might have to do that.
We are now getting the one-on-one-ish drills. It's like the 7-on-7, but they call it their version of the one-on-ones. It's man coverage across the board. Cam Ward, nice completion to Gunnar Helm in a tight window to start off the day. So good start there. Gunnar Helm is actually where I wanted to go. We were talking about Jonnu Smith. Gunnar Helm makes a catch. Based on what I've seen in practice in the preseason games, I do think Gunnar Helm is going to be he's going to be involved in this offense, right? Like he is going to be a player that is going to get targets. We've seen it in the preseason games. He had the nice screen pass from Ward on 3rd down to move the sticks in San Francisco. He should have had a long catch on an off-platform throw by Ward. Are going to be the primary guy at all. Like I think Helm is going to be more impactful, but I just don't think he's going to get the volume of targets that some people may be anticipating, because you look at how Brian Daboll has previously used his tight ends, whether it was in Buffalo with Dawson Knox, whether it was last year with the Giants with Theo Johnson. They make plays, but they're not the guys that are going to get the volume of targets. That's going to be like Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be the middle of the field target that they use more often than they're going to use Gunnar Helm.
Yeah, I did not expect Gunnar to get like a crazy amount of targets this year. And I for his overall career also, I wouldn't say I'm expecting him to be, Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, anything like that. But Delaney Walker career arc, I can see that. And I think that'd be great if you're the Titans, if you can get a Delaney Walker type career out of him.
If he becomes Delaney Walker, you jump for joy, right? Like, I mean, that's Delaney maybe the best tight end. Yeah, I know that's controversial, but statistically, he does have somewhat better stats than Frank Wycheck. But I understand Frank, like different game, right? Like back then, they
played the position much different ways as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I still would probably go with Frank, but like arguably, Delaney Walker deserves to be in that conversation. And Delaney also clearly played on worse teams too, which I think like kind of changes his legacy. Frank Wycheck was included in a lot of big moments for the Titans, whereas Delaney Walker, he played in 2 playoff games as a Titan, the Chiefs and the Patriots back in the 2018 year, 2017 season.
Yeah, I guess that would have been right. Yeah, because 2017, and then see that's always confusing. It's like, wait, was this because you think about the year the game was actually played in, and you're like, wait, what season was that? That's like That's why I always don't like when people say, oh, that was the 2025 Super Bowl. It's like, okay, well, was it the Super Bowl the 2025 season or the 20? It's so confusing.
I think you always go with the season that was played, not when the actual game was played. Like, right? You think about when did the Titans go to the Super Bowl? 1999. The game was played in January 2000, right? So I think that's the right way to do it. Bryce Oliver tough drop on a pass from Mitch Trubisky. In the Max Hers relaying, he's my spotter over here. We pay him the big bucks to be the spotter for us. Tough drop on he was wide open in this like 7-on-7 they're doing. You hit him right between the 8 and the 0.
I was wondering what Max was doing out there. I guess we know now. He had a job that was to spot for you during the show.
Max, we decided it's too difficult with 2 fields going on and hosting a show for me to look at everything. So Max Hers has been hired as our honorary spotter here for 102.5 The Game. But talking about Gunnar Helm, I think and I'm sticking consistent with what I said in offseason too. I think Gunnar Helm is going to be a 500-ish yards receiver, but I think the touchdown numbers go up. I think he could be a red zone threat for this team. I just don't think he's going to be a guy who you're going to see having 100-yard games out there. He's going to be somebody they use in spots, but the volume of targets is going to go to Carnell Tate and Wan'Dale Robinson. You look at what Brian Dable did with the Bills and the Giants, the numbers speak for themselves. The number 1 wide receiver and the slot wide receiver are going to dominate where the football goes from the quarterback.
Yeah, and just because we're saying that, I think that doesn't mean Gunnar Helm can't have a good season at all. Like, I think he can still make an impact, even if it's not with the football. I mean, he can make an impact in many different ways, and I still expect him to. I feel, that's a name I didn't say that I would say I do feel pretty good about going into the season as Gunnar Helm.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. I feel confident in Gunnar Helm, but I think you also have to have realistic expectations about what that confidence means, right? Like,
there's levels to it for sure.
I feel confident that he is going to be a good player for this team, but I think you have to understand that doesn't mean he's going to be a Pro Bowler this year, right? Like, I think he's going to be a solid tight end who can be a safety blanket at times for Cam Ward, but I don't think it's going to be some like incredible second-year jump where you're talking about him as one of the best tight ends in football next year. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Last call for phones here. We've got one more segment left on the show. Team drills are about to get going in a little bit. It looks like actually they might do some special teams work here. So we may not be able to get you any team drill updates, but overall seemed like it was a good start for Cam Ward in those one-on-one drills. Do you know who did he hit down the sideline on the second one? He hit Alec Iamaner down the sideline for a nice throw too. So there you go. A couple of early completions into tight windows for Cam Ward. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show after this. Jake Lyman, Christian Skelton, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final segment on this Thursday. Out live at Titans training camp. Titans and Bears joint practice going on as we speak. They're doing some special teams work right now. The Titans punt return unit getting some looks here. So we will give you updates if we can, but it looks like we will probably be off the air before they get into any of the team stuff. But keep an eye on social media. Teron Davenport, Connor Nute, Parker Kelly, Paul Kuharski, all going to have updates throughout practice today. I did just see Paul Kuharski put out there a couple alumni. Keith Bullock's always kind of around, and he does some work with Titans Radio. But Pac-Man Jones is here too. So some alumni in attendance for the joint practice today. I did want to get to this text here quickly before we wrap up. 7268 says, I believe the breaking news about LSU and Lane Kiffin encouraging players to sue the NCAA came out after the show yesterday and missed any takes on it. Just wanted to know your thoughts. I did see that. I believe it was CBS who reported that it wasn't just that Daquan Wright and Xavier Harris decided they wanted to take advantage of this last year and did it all on their own. Apparently, Lane Kiffin was encouraging this, which changes the math a little bit about what this looks like. But the news yesterday that I thought was hilarious was the SEC, when they voted on banning NFL players from coming back to college. It was a 16-0 vote on Tuesday night. 16-0 was the vote. And I asked the question yesterday. I was like, you guys let Lane Kiffin go out in front of the media and go on Pat McAfee and defend his decision and then just go vote for the SEC to be able to punish you for making that decision. So I didn't understand it. And, of course, they vote on the punishments, and LSU abstains from voting yesterday. I thought that was so funny. It's like, man, just can we have a backbone and stand up for what's right in college sports? Because I think they realized I think they realized that it looked bad, that their coaches going all over ESPN talking about how if I didn't do it, someone else would, and then them voting to punish him about violently as they can. 50% of the year suspension, 50% of your operating budget, and you lose your voting rights. Like, to vote for that and let Lane Kiffin go and preach all over ESPN and Pat McAfee yesterday, I thought was so funny. And they, of course, abstained from voting.
It's just typical Kiffin, typical LSU. I mean, what a disgusting athletic department is all I can say. Like, it's always something over there, man. I might want to win that game as a Tennessee fan more than any other game this year coming up. Because the trolling he's going to do, the one-liners, he's always going to have the upper hand about everything. It's, oh my God, I want to win that game so bad as a Tennessee fan.
Yeah,
because of stuff like this.
Lane has become, if he wasn't already, he's public enemy number one. And I saw somebody tweeted yesterday. It was like, man, how things have changed when all of America is going to be rooting for Dabo Swinney in a week and a half just because of how horrible Lane Kiffin has handled this offseason. And obviously Lane had plenty of issues before this offseason, but with the leaving for Ole Miss mid-playoff run and, of course, what's going on now, it's only gotten worse. I don't know how this is all going to work out. I hope that all of these injunctions and TROs just end up going by the wayside and these players don't get to play. I just thought that was hilarious that Lane Kiffin just preaching all over the place about how everyone else is going to do this and why are we the ones taking the blame? And then LSU is the only school across all of the power conferences to not vote in favor of punishing people for playing pro players. So we are out here at Titans practice. They're into some red zone stuff here. Cam Ward with a nice throw to the flats to Wan'Dale Robinson to set up a first down. Just threw one out the back of the end zone with nobody open later on. We'll give you some updates here before we wrap up. We've only got a couple of minutes left. You did mention the entire athletic department for LSU. We haven't talked about it yet, the Kim Mulkey stuff going on right now. Oh, my
goodness.
I mean, I have my own thoughts on Kim Mulkey, of course, like working with Vanderbilt. We play them at least once a year. That's a program that has definitely had its issues, but they win, right? They won a national championship a few years ago, and Kim Mulkey is a winner. No matter what you say, whether it was a player or as a coach, she is a winner. But man, how she's handled the Kate Koval situation just blows my mind. Like, I just don't understand how she thought her comments on that of like, did she say we think we can stop the war? Was that like her exact quote? I heard somebody say that, and I don't want to misquote her, but I heard somebody and saw that somewhere that she said by bringing in a Russian player with a Ukrainian player already on her roster, they can do that. Just horribly mismanaged. I cannot believe that situation that's going on down there. I mean, look at with Will Wade and Lane Kiffin and Kim Mulkey and everything they've got going on. I mean, it is just unbelievable. Right
yeah,
now.
With these new rulings, Will Wade might be kind of screwed. I don't know what he's going to do to field a basketball team this winter.
Four players.
Yeah, and I didn't see that quote from Mulkey. I just think it's hilarious that she has a player from Ukraine on her roster and thinks no problems will come of it by adding a player from Russia to her roster. Yeah, that's just nothing's going to happen. It'll be fine. It'll blow over. It won't be a big deal. And obviously, she wouldn't have done this unless she thought the Russian was a lot better player than the Ukraine girl.
I mean, Kate Koval's a good player. Like, she's a post player. I think she averaged like 9 and 7 last year for them. So definitely not a bad player. I just thought that was again, a horribly mismanaged situation there from Kim Mulkey. Titans doing some red zone work on offense here. I haven't been able to watch the defense work at all. Again, it's already hard enough to try and stay on air and follow one field. 2 fields makes it even more impossible. But Cam Ward it looked like a relatively accurate ball to Carnell Tate. He just didn't jump. I think he was maybe a little bit late getting his head around, and it was incomplete. There was a flag on the play anyway, but I thought it was a pretty good ball to the back of the end zone. Does fall incomplete. Mitch Trubisky, and the 2 is out there now. So, again, not a whole lot that we've been able to give you here. The practice just really getting going with the team stuff. So keep yourself updated. Again, TD, PK, Connor, Parker, they're all out here. They'll be updating you on social media throughout the day. And of course, keep it tuned right here. Chasing Big Joe DVD will have your updates throughout the rest of the day as well. We will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m., live from T-Line. Tomorrow, the 15th anniversary celebration. Excited for that. From 6 to 6, all the shows going to be out at T-Line in West Nash with giveaways every hour. If you come out, you can get signed up for a possibility to win Pred season tickets. So come out and join us at T-Line tomorrow. Teron Davenport is going to be in with us for the full show. Excited for that. Andrew Allegretto will also join us in the 11 o'clock hour as well. So should be a great day at T-Line tomorrow. Christian, appreciate you filling in. It's been fun, my friend.
Appreciate you having me on as always. Always have fun on this show. And hope to do it again soon.
That does it for us. Keep it tuned right here. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.